All right, hello, Race Brain Podcast. My name is Rich Ryan. Joining me right now, Bracken Crocker. We got Jack somewhere. Who knows? He's doing stuff. He gets people tell him what to do. He has to go and do stuff. And BK and I, we're here just hanging out.
Yeah, we run our lives. We are at the wheel.
That's correct. BK, man, this is not a topic anyone's really going to care about, but you smoked me in fantasy football. that was the biggest blowout in league history. I looked it up.
I thought I was playing you. I mean,
You were
Nick
playing
Riker.
me. I know, that's the trick.
I went through the roster trying to figure out who is who. Because there's Mr. 3020, and then there's... What's the other one?
Inquisitive gym teacher.
Inquisitive gym teacher with Nick Riker's picture as the profile.
Yep.
I even trash-talked to Riker in our group chat thinking
Good.
I was playing him, and he was just catching strays.
That's how it should be.
I mean, he sucks anyways. But
He does suck. My team, it shouldn't suck, but it did suck. But we're not here really to talk about fantasy football. That's a topic that is not very interesting. And people are like, oh, my fantasy team, I had Tua, congratulations. I had freaking, oh my God, I forget it. Tyreek. It's like, yeah, great. Congratulations, Bracken.
I drafted Tyreek in every league I'm in.
Smart move.
I got two and 2 out of my 3.
Smart move.
I just thought the writing was on the wall.
Oh, you just knew?
Oh, Tua started out so hot last year, and he's either going to die or be crippled, or he's going to be all pro. That's my read.
Starting off all pro. In another league that I'm in, I had again, last thing on the fantasy football, I was getting murdered. My team was terrible, but I had the Cowboys defense, which I thought about dropping because I'm an Eagles fan, and just out of principle, I'm like, I don't really want to root for this. I'd rather them lose. That's better for my life. And I was up what would be the equivalent of 14 points or something like that. And Aaron Rodgers was left playing. So I was getting crushed, had my defense bring me all the way back, and on the first series, Rodgers is out. So taking that win. So I think I made a deal with the devil on this one, but I'm taking. I'm not drinking 40s again.
No. Did you see that tweet some NFL insider or whatever put out 30 minutes before the game or something like that? He was like, an hour from now, Aaron Rodgers is going to tear his Achilles because of this terrible water-soaked turf that MetLife
really?
has. And then 48 minutes later, he did it.
Is it officially? Is it torn? I didn't see.
Done for the year.
Done for life. I think he's out for life.
Yeah, that puts you in a tough spot. So he's 39. So you're 39. I'm 36.
I'm not 39.
38?
37.
What? Who's 38?
Yeah, how
Kent's
dare you.
38? Turning 39 next year?
We're this Kent's 2 months older than I am.
Oh, I thought he was a year older.
We were both 04 in high school. You were 05.
That's right. Okay, I'm used to sitting across from Kirk. I say 39 now, and it feels young because he's a full 40.
He's way out there. I got a lot of time.
He's a quadragenarian.
Yeah.
Anyway, at our age, thinking about coming back from a torn Achilles, which is 13 months?
Yeah, I think.
And it's not like ACL where you can do a lot of the things along. It's just a worse recovery, I think, than ACL or things like that. Coming back from that would be tough for us. You add in the fact that he's going to be 40 when he comes back in a league where young, giant, enormous, explosive people hit you. You come back and you're probably not yourself, or you retire and you just whimpered off into your retirement. There's not really a good option for him.
I think he's out, man. I think he's got it's tough. Yeah, if it is 13 months, it's a full season. Will he even be ready for next season?
Now all rehab cycles are dropping. ACL used to be 13 months.
Yeah, but he's 39.
Now people are talking you got 8 to 9 month recovery time. So maybe everything is dropping slightly, but yeah, he's 39 and he doesn't take care of himself.
That was your whole thing. Well, what do you mean? His mentals are on point.
Maybe.
Taking care of his mentals, taking care of his chicken.
My thing is, if you have to disappear into the dark for 3 days, you probably aren't on point mentally.
You wouldn't do a darkness retreat?
No.
No?
I mean, maybe, but out of curiosity, not out of necessity. And that's fine. Do what you got to do to take care of that mental game. But if you need it in order to make a minorly to majorly significant decision, then you're probably not in a super solid place.
Are those also the silent retreats? Or is it actually darkness? I don't really know what these things are.
The way I envisioned it is he disappeared into a yurt with no windows for 3 days.
Wow. Solo, right? Like he's not talking to anybody.
I assume so, which is going to be relatively quiet. But then after a while, every noise is going to be super loud.
It's just an interesting thing to go through.
Last night, I don't know what I ate, but I had like 45 minutes of debilitating stomach cramps, followed by like an hour and a half of slowly farting myself to death. And then it was done. But if you're locked in
veggies or what's going on? You're just like,
I don't know. I think it was the meatballs I had.
ooh, meatball, not so fresh meatballs.
But if you're in a yurt for that, first of all, the noise would be deafening after 2 days of silence. But where's that going?
Meatballs in that yurt? Where's he? What's causing him to do that?
Like you're detoxing through out there. What if you start having terrible body experiences and you're just stuck in there? That air's not going anywhere.
It's just nature, man. They probably give you some sort of cleanse to.
That's what I'm saying.
Some sort of like, but pre yurt, before you're in the yurt, 7 days.
Sort of colonic.
Yep. You're just drinking green juice. You're feeling okay. You got to be adapted to. You probably need to be like a little bit more fat adapted. He's eating though, right? How's he seeing what he's eating? Is it all finger food?
I don't know. Is it like one of those blind dates that they have where you show up in the dark, blindfolded in a restaurant, and you eat food and date someone blind? Have you seen those?
No. Is that a show?
I think they did a show on it, but it's a thing that some big cities have.
You do it blind, so it's all personality.
Totally dark. I think eating would be hard too. I think you'd spill a bunch.
It'd have to be like Ethiopian food or something where it's like, yeah, the bread that's like a sponge.
Yep.
Has to be very hands. If you
Yeah,
utensils,
food.
like sushi or something with chopsticks, that's not going to happen.
Sushi is great finger food though. If you
It could be finger food.
Chopsticks.
Yeah, maybe I'm a different like a ramen or something is probably also not great.
Yeah. You don't want a hot bowl of ramen somewhere on the table in front of you.
All right, we're just going to start. Let's talk about Hyrox Warsaw. We have a bunch of things to talk about today, including we want to talk about the CrossFit 5K. That's Jack's baby. We had some updated information about that. I have a couch that's being delivered right as we speak, and you're going to hear the dog. He's going to be letting us know that these couch people are not welcome here.
What kind of couch you go with? Because I think this says a lot about a person and what kind of furniture they order.
So we didn't have a TV here, right? But we're getting our basement finished. We're close to it being completely done. Like the floor's done, it's painted, the guest room's ready. And I got a TV. Went out and got a TV last weekend.
What'd you get? You know, I'm a researcher.
I should have asked you. I thought about I was
You should have.
I know. You have thoughts? You tell me what you would get.
Well, I believe that the upper budget or low end mid range is where TV's sweet spot is at these days. You get a lot of LED technology in there, even some like OLED in there for well under $1,000. So I think Hisense is probably the best budget TV right now. But you can go with a TCL. It's going to be a downgrade, or you can get a Vizio still. But I think Hisense is the sweet spot, if I'm saying that right. Hisense.
That's how I was pronouncing it as well. I saw those, and then just reading some reviews, LG just seemed like it was the move. Everyone's
You
like,
can go LG for sure.
everyone's like, LG is just going to be reliable. I don't want to get another TV anytime soon. And the space is like relatively big, so I wanted it to be like huge. I wanted it to feel like a movie theater. I haven't been to the movies since COVID, so I wanted it to just be like.
We started going again with the kids.
That's right. You saw the Gran Turismo?
We saw that. We saw the Jurassic Park Dominion. We saw.
I don't even know what that is. Oppenheimer. Brought the kids to Oppenheimer.
No, but Lisa wants to see that.
I would definitely go see Oppenheimer. I feel like I need to be in the theater for a 3-hour movie just so I'm not breaking it into 4 parts.
Right.
So I can really sit there and be immersed in it. So I wanted a big one. I was looking at the 65-inch, and then I was looking at the OLED, and then that got a little bit pricey. It got a little pricey, so I went with the QNED, which is that mini LED technology still. And the differences seemed negligible. It's like something with a side view, but the blacks are a little bit more saturated.
How much light is in your room, and how high quality is your source coming in? Which I don't think you're going to have to worry about any of that with a basement, and you're not streaming 4K.
We're good to go. So,
what size?
65-inch.
Ooh, that's a big boy.
It's pretty big. I was trying to use the augmented reality situation that they have on Amazon, so you can put it in your room. And I was like, man, this looks pretty big. And then we went and picked it up. I was like, this is huge. This is way bigger than I need. But then we set it up, and I was like, nope. Even if it's like a little uncomfortable, I'm still doing it. Oh my goodness, Jack Bauer's here.
I know I almost didn't show my face after that beatdown that the Patriots took against your Eagles, but yeah, I'm here.
I wasn't really a beatdown, but I didn't talk one piece of shit to you all weekend.
Realistically, like one toe drag on the 10-yard line in the final minute of the game, it could have been completely different.
Yeah, well, when your players suck, that's what happens.
Yeah, this type of football conference rivalry has no place for stats or reason or logic. This is a purely emotional-based argument.
Yeah,
and the Patriots
totally
suck.
If you can barely beat Mac Jones, that's not good.
Who?
I don't think the Patriots suck. I think the Patriots are actually pretty good. Mac Jones is funny because he can't throw it to the outside or past 12 yards. But the middle was open for him, and he was taking it.
Yeah.
He had a ton of yards. But once it got past, it was like if it was beyond 10 yards, you weren't going to convert.
Once Hurts had that fumble, I'm like, they're going to bring down Tom Brady. He's gonna get substituted in those final 3 minutes and just lead him to victory.
All right, Jack. I don't know what the deal is. Jack's out of here. This episode's rough so far, squad. And I also wanted to say sorry to our YouTube viewers. We did have an issue with the software that we've been using last week. I almost smashed my computer out of frustration. I didn't. I'm happy about that. But we did not get the video last week. We were able to salvage the audio, but the video just didn't come through. So sorry about that. We should be back this week. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. Check us out. So, Jack, now that you're here, are you unmuted? Are you set up?
No. You know, it's like you never arrived at all. Let's continue with what we were doing, Rich. You got your couch delivered, 65-inch TV. Your dog's going nuts.
Dog's going crazy. We did try to get a couch down there, like a big kind of like L with a chaise, and we just went to like one of those kind of budget furniture warehouse situations to get it, and it didn't fit. And it's a basement, and it just didn't fit. So last weekend was all about shopping for couches. Went to some bougie places, trying to figure out trying to get like a modular situation. So expensive that we went back to the furniture warehouse discount place and just found one that fit. So we have it's an L. I think that's where we're at now. No chase.
Yeah.
Chase.
All right, how's this?
Chase.
Good.
You get a little closer.
I have this is the same exact distance that I've been away for the past 2+ years. Every single time that I've set up my mic.
We have a
New
microphone.
mic.
What are you
I
talking
know
about?
that, and I've got
adapt with
So
the
move it
times.
closer.
You're a dinosaur.
I'll make it work.
Goodness. He's talking about the same distance that I'm away from with my freaking head.
We need a
how's
boom
that?
arm.
We need boom arms. That's official. This isn't working the way that we wanted it to work.
All right, while he figures that out, I'm going to
Not
ask the
going on
question
a demo
on air
tape.
that I keep asking you off air. Hyrox shoes.
Yes.
It's been a whole year since we've really, really had a big competition. Not a whole year. But is Endorphin Pro 3 still the best mix of super shoe, traction, and lockdown?
I think so.
And stability? Or are you going to roll with anything different coming up here in España?
I can't risk it for Spain. I might bring my Rocket X 2s. I want to use those in competition somehow, but I don't.
Pop.
Just more pop. Feels good under there, and I'm using them on the road a little bit more, so they're probably worn down more than I want them to be. But I think that's the move. I'm very interested in those Deviates though. Those Deviate Nitro Deviate 2 Elite. There's too many words in that. Too many words in that.
Yeah, the trend of using a base word and then adding on is like I feel like it's a very well engineered phrase, but it's not consumer friendly. Deviate Nitro, Deviate Nitro Elite, Deviate Nitro Elite 2. I don't know.
But I am interested in those. Those sound cool because they're a little bit lower profile with a plate. It seems like these brands are going either or. It's like a 5K version of a shoe, like a lower stripped down version with no plate, or it's a different type of plate, or it's a marathon shoe with a huge stack height and a plate built in there. There's some that are kind of like that Hoka Mach X is a little bit like that. It's not
I'm not a
racer,
believer
though.
in these tempo shoes, actually. They always end up being my least favorite versions.
Huh. I like the Hoka for just running. I've been wearing them for just my easy runs, and it's nice.
But they don't do either end well.
No.
They do the middle just okay.
I agree.
What about the fast R's? Would you ever spin those?
I would try. I've just had them so beat up now that I wouldn't like the traction on the bottom is like okay, it seems, but they're just too beat up. I would like to give them a spin though.
I think what I would ask for from Patreon is for someone to gift me an experience at a cobbler workshop, like some sort of apprenticeship for cobbling. I went down a deep rabbit hole of soul swapping this past weekend.
Trying to get those
We're
Takumi
not talking
cents to
Ouija
work.
board, talking SOLE, soul, cobbling a new sole onto the bottom of an existing shoe. I think that's where hybrid not future, but present sits, is get your shoe, get your bottom, sole swap appropriately. Because when I swap them, they always end up too heavy. Because I have to use too much glue, and I have to... do I take more off the bottom to compensate for this? But a real cobbler just knows what to do. And originally, they can affix these bottoms with a minimal amount of adhesion. Well, maximum adhesion, minimal adhesive. And it keeps the weight down. E6000 is fantastic, but the amount that I use so that I trust the bottom, it adds ounces to the shoe.
Do you think we could just send you a bunch of old shoes and you could just practice? Just everybody ships their old shoes to.
No, I think you got to learn from a
Crocker resident?
master cobbler.
You don't think you could craft this on your own? You don't think you could practice your way to be a master cobbler?
Little thing, maybe, but I think he could shortcut the process.
For sure.
It'd be like sending someone to YouTube and say, become a hybrid coach.
Oh, it's easy.
I think if you just interned with you for a month, you would learn 3 years worth of YouTube in that month. The tools, decoupling the midsole from the sole. What is the easiest way to detach things and reattach? What tools should I be having? I think just one weekend, even seminar with a master cobbler would do it for me.
Would this be in like Norway or somewhere?
I don't know.
I feel like where are people
Are the
cobbling?
Norwegians known
There's
for
a
their
guy,
cobbling?
Jared Price,
Who makes,
that I work
who makes
with.
those wooden shoes?
Jared Price lives in Pocatello, Idaho, and he has a local cobbler who's still like reshotting all the hunters' boots. Because they buy these like $400, $500 boots, and you got to get new soles on them from time to time. And I feel like there's people like that around the nation. I wouldn't mind going overseas, but I think it'd be more of a strain on the Patreon. But someone
I
needs to
agree.
point me in the direction of a master. And then I
Yes.
can build everyone their dream hybrid shoe.
You could be the expert in the field. Like,
Just
I
be making
will-
dozens of dollars a week.
We have polls and questions that people can answer if you're listening on Spotify. We'll put that in the poll this week. Is where can Bracken become a master cobbler? Master cobbler request or no referrals.
Referrals, yeah. So I
Master
assume
co-
you got to know a guy.
big network out there.
Yeah, it's probably not just for like you probably can't go on like Airbnb experiences and just get like a cobbler. You got to know somebody,
Yeah. And I don't.
and you don't. We were gonna talk about Hyrox Warsaw, but now that Jack's here, we have a bunch of things to talk about. Hyrox Warsaw. We're gonna talk about the World Championships, the FISO World Championships for OCR a little bit. But first, Jack, your baby, your topic that you love more than any other topic, the CrossFit 5K.
The CrossFit 5K, yeah. Madrid's going to hold a special place in both of our hearts. You're going there soon, and they just ran an actual 5K, and one of their CrossFit, what's it called? Invitationals? Or
They call it like
At this point?
fitness championship. Some sort of
Yeah.
championship they called it.
they rebrand all the time, kind of like Spartan Race always does with the NBC National Series, U.S. National Series, U.S. Championship. It's just, they just rebrand every couple of years. But bottom line, it's quite the difference in times when you see what they actually ran in the alleged 5K course in Madison at the CrossFit Games versus what they did in Madrid. So I think everyone already knew, but for some reason, CrossFit HQ is still unwilling to back down that the CrossFit Games was not an actual 5K. Dave Kasher went on his podcast, and he was like, "Yep, measured it 3 separate times, twice, or like 6 separate
two
times, something like
wheels.
that."
We had two wheels at the same time. They're just like spinning against each other.
So he confirmed, he went from we measured it 3 times to 6.
Yeah,
Which means
Such
it
full of
puts to
shit.
bed all theories. There's only one option now. It was absolutely measured in yards.
Had to be yards.
That's the only option, and that's okay. We've talked about this. It's okay,
Just
but
say
it's
it.
hilarious to me that they're focusing on. We measure. Yeah, we know you measured it, but
You
just
measured
say
the wrong thing. Yeah.
pull that wheel out and see what it's set to, and it's going to be imperial.
He could have ended this thing in like 10 seconds. He could have been like, guys, I know we looked it over. GPS files are short. We did measure it 3 or 6 times, whatever. It was set to yards. We screwed up. It was still a cross-country endurance run, and we'll fix the labeling in it. It wasn't a true 5-kilometer race. That's it. End of story.
They
We
shouldn't put
screwed
a
up.
distance ever again on it.
No, they should never. They've never done that in the past. Like
Well,
that,
it's
I mean,
5
laps
to 10
is what?
yards.
12-minute run.
it should have been a 3 laps for time, like approximately 1.2.
Yeah,
But the
Clock.
thing
Looking
is,
at 17 to 20 minutes on course, plan accordingly.
but it's not just CrossFit. Like, remember when Hunter was doing OCR stars and he had the 1 mile time trial and people were stopping midway through the home stretch,
Yeah.
like because they're like, "Oh, my GPS said this." It's people just don't understand how to measure distances properly. Maybe we just take it for granted because we have a track background, but like, I don't understand how there are so many issues with distance measuring so often.
Here's my issue, okay? I want to be clear on this. I don't care how fast they ran. They're all impressive. They all
Way
impress
stronger
me.
than all of us.
However, it's like one bad apple can ruin the bunch. That's how I look at anything sport-wise or anything that's based around accuracy. Like, if you can't measure distance, I don't trust you to measure time or weight. If you say something wrong about one thing, and it's the thing I know, how am I to assume the things I don't know as well are being totally knocked out of the park? So if you have this thing and you double and triple down, people are like, I think it was yards, not meters. And he's like, we did it 3 times. And they're like, yeah, but the time's wrong. I think it was yards. He's like, okay, we measured it 6 times. Like, that doesn't reassure me that anything else is accurate. There's this concept that when humans read a newspaper, they read, and I've talked about this before, they read every story and go, oh, interesting. Oh, wow. Oh, interesting. And then they get to a story written about their line of expertise, and then they pick holes in it. It's like, well, that's inaccurate. That's wrong. I see what they're saying, but they're misinformed. This person clearly has like a cursory level of knowledge, and they ran with it. This is terrible. This writer's crap. This whole thing is wrong. Everyone's going to believe this, and they shouldn't. And then they turn to the next page and go, oh, that's interesting. I never knew that.
For sure.
And so that's how I feel. That's how I approach a lot of things now, is that if I spot constant flaws in the thing I know about, what are you doing in the things I don't know about? So to see the head of sport of a major, major competition that makes that kind of mistake, it's not a good look in general. And again, I don't care about your times or distances because they're all impressive.
Yeah, and it's just like the doubling down on it is what is a little infuriating. It shows like a level of incompetence, right? It's like it was incompetence that got them to the 5,000 yard measurement, and like it's a mistake, right? Like it's just a mistake, and like people didn't realize it. It said 5,000. They weren't running it. They may have tested it and probably just thought like, man, these athletes are great because they don't know. But just like admit it. Who cares? It doesn't change the race things, but you're right now, Bracken. It's like even if they did test that the Helena or whatever event they had 400-meter runs where they were coming in under 70 seconds, like not a 400. I can just tell you that it's not, even though that's a doable time for a lot of people. For those people in that workout, it's not doable.
So Lisa, first for anyone who's listening that doesn't know, I live an hour from this event site. My wife has an aunt who lives about 15 minutes from it. The next time we're up there, I might bring my wheel and wheel the exact course they used.
That would be solid. I don't know. We have access to go in the thing though, in the stadium, because it looped through the stadium.
I won't have access to that.
Can you go up over it and then like measure out where you stopped?
I mean, it's point to point through it, right? They came in straight across and out.
I think so.
And so if you went around the stadium and picked back up, took a longer route, and you were still short, it would be definitive.
I think that's a good call. But what did happen with this 5K is what we saw in the Madrid Championships or whatever. Lazar Dukic ran 20:30 in Madrid at the Games. He ran 17:02. And Jonakowski was another one who ran 21:40 at Madrid, and at the Games he ran 18:14. If this was Hyrox who had to explain this away, they'd just be like, They just had an off day. Wasn't the course. Off day. We don't want to penalize people for off days.
Yeah, I read through it because I love these comments. Because again, I don't have a dog in the fight. I think it's funny. But the most common, I think you all read it, the most common defenses were that A, it was a much hillier course. B, we have no idea about their cycle leading in, and if they were coming in more fatigued, yeah, of course they're not going to run as fast. And then C was, you guys are idiots, like in incels, grow up, get out of your mom's basement. So if we discard that, because yeah, they're right, then the last two is hilly course or fatigued course. From the running world, let's look at cross country, which we all ran, and we all had hilly courses versus flat courses. Give me the spread in a high school cross-country 5K from a fast course to a slow course.
Well, I can tell you this kid, Aiden Cox, he set the record at Dairyfield Park, which is like super hilly. I know that's his last name. But anyway, he was like 15:10, and then at Nike Outdoor Nationals, he ended up running 14:20 or so.
I was going to say about a minute.
It's like a 50-second, and we have about 200 feet, 250 feet of elevation change in that course.
And you're not going to find much more than that.
1 minute max.
I would say a minute, yeah. You're exactly right. How much was the regular dairy?
Dairyfield's like 200 to 250 feet.
Is that a London dairy field?
Yeah.
No. 250 is a lot for 5K.
Huge.
It's built on the back of a ski mountain.
Apple
so
orchard.
yeah, an apple orchard. Wrong,
Yeah.
not max.
Come on. Yeah. Gotta be. So yeah, like it was just wrong. It's been wrong, and it will continue to be wrong. And I hope we never stop talking about it until they admit it. I think they're just going to try to like wait for it to go away. Mm-hmm. And shout outs to Madrid for making this 5K. They could have easily just not. You know, like they're like, oh, let's actually just do a 5K again, and just because that's something that they wouldn't test almost ever.
And also shout out to the athletes. They've been so level-headed and consistent from the beginning. They all have said, listen, it was short. My GPS said super short. And then this one, the only guy who even partially defended, he's like, I ran both. To be fair, it was significantly hillier, but it was also a full 3 miles, 3.1 compared to the other one. Like,
3.5 minutes is.
If you can run within 90 seconds of it, I'd even sure.
And that would be great. Like if there's 90 seconds and Lazar Dukic ran 18:30, I'd be like, that's impressive.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Very good.
I said it to Lisa because her PR is like 20:30. Can you imagine me, 50 pounds heavier, running 20:30? That's really quick.
Really fast.
It's still impressive. I'm still impressed with you, gents and ladies.
Yeah.
Didn't we have a conversation last week where we were talking about like Rich, you weren't in peak form for your DEKAFIT or a couple weeks ago for Philadelphia, and it's like how far off would you be if you're in like just nailed it form versus otherwise, and it was like a minute? There's no scenario where you'll ever be 3 minutes off when you're at that high of a level, like anything.
That's what I mean. Jack. That's why it reminds me of Hyrox, where people are just like, yeah, it could just happen. I was better this time. Oh, I was worse this time. Like, yeah, 3 minutes worse, 5 minutes worse.
3 minutes you could at least cut out if like you cramped in one or paced horribly and cramped.
You completely blew up at a terrible race.
1 minute per mile. Could you be like, I was running 5:30, now I'm running 6:30.
I went out in 4:59.
Yeah. Jack, I want your math brain on this. What is the percent worse in 5K from 18:30 to 20:30?
To 20:30, I don't know, probably like 15%.
Okay, so what would that be like in a CrossFit total difference? What would we have to 7%. See in that?
To show CrossFit total, like
the CrossFit total was, what was the winner? He was like 650, say.
So what's 15% worse than that? Could that be explained away by training fatigue or not being peaked?
You said it was 650?
Say 650.
That would be like 585. It's like 75 pounds.
25 pounds lighter. What would be heavier? Because that's what this was, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's 15% better.
720.
Imagine. Right. Imagine if Jack
was stronger today.
I was strong.
Man, just nailed it.
A strong day. All right, we can put this to bed, right? But we never will.
No,
Castro
this is a huge win for us. This is a huge win for the community.
Recent event when they just like double down on it, or Castro doubles down, and then they run the event again, and it's 3 minutes. Come on, guys!
They'll never have a standardized event ever again, as
Do it on a
they
track.
never should have. Never should have.
That's not the purpose of the games.
No, let's see him throw the shot put. Let's see him do the hammer throw.
Hammer throw or jab. Jab would be fun.
They did a
You have
softball throw one year.
Injuries though.
How about the backwards sandbag toss? Like they
Sure.
had in Go Ruck games. Remember that thing?
Oh, that was like
stupid.
It was like a 5-pound sandbag. It was a super light
and
sandbag.
like you
So
just
stupid.
didn't know the technique, and people got eliminated because of that, basically. So
For sure.
I would have respected Castro so much if he got on and said, "Listen, this takes place in America. We did yards because America." We could have all been like, "That's awesome."
Perfect.
5K 1,000 yards.
That was, again, like back to OCR stars, international competition, 3-mile run. A 3-mile time trial. It's like,
yeah,
okay. And a 1-mile, kind of. All right.
You know who this reflects worse on? The worst out of anyone?
Who?
Chris Hinshaw.
I know.
Because he should know better.
He needs to
commented,
know.
He was in the comments saying like, "I'll hop on a podcast to explain anything if you have any more." I'm like, "Don't
There's
do it."
nothing to explain.
He's just going to be
Don't
like,
do it.
they told me, and
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
to say what they say. So
It's the only
that's
explanation.
the explanation. It's
I
definitely
got it in my ear and I said it.
Because those guys weren't running 5 anythings.
No.
Like, you just look at them, you're like,
This is
But
gonna
you know what?
You know it's going to turn into the news where every single thing that they start from now on is going to be allegedly they did this. That's going to be the new thing every single time when they measure something.
They can own it, though. You see those NFL commercials that I thought were fantastic about the script, following the NFL
I don't
script?
think so. I didn't see,
Oh,
the
yeah.
I
commercials.
didn't see it yet.
Yeah, it's what's his name from Key and Peele hosts this script meeting, and there are players there, and they're like, "What
Was
if
it
we
Key or
just write
Peele?
this Mahomes guy out
Yeah.
in general?" And Tyreek Hill's like, "Yeah, I vote for that." And it's really good. It's a good commercial, but CrossFit could do that. They could just own it. They could
should
make
own
fun of themselves and own it, but
They don't have that in them. Well, and
at
that's when
the
you
same
get.
time, I've been watching CCC on the treadmill from the UTMB weekend, and they've had some announcers on there saying some pretty outrageous things. Like one person stopped, a woman who was in first or second stopped to grab water out of the stream. And the female announcer, I forget who it was at the time, says, "And there's Sheng She or whoever sprinting past her." Well, she's running 8-minute mile pace, which is impressive on this terrain, but stop saying sprinting.
No
We've all been
sprinting
watching
happening.
for 5 hours. No one's sprinting. And then
No
they
one's
kept
moving.
saying things like that. And there's outrageous things. You
Trying
get
to
caught on the
excite.
mic, you say things you don't maybe believe, but
Bracken,
to
what's
get-
the most ridiculous thing you've said on a broadcast? Do you
You
remember
need a
anything?
sizzle reel of Bruce Bracken.
I mean, it's
Takes.
probably a ton. I'm as hypocritical as it gets. I'm super judgy of commentators, but probably the worst stuff is not knowing who the person on the screen is, or we're staring at this pixelated
that's-
little clip.
That's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's hard because you like maybe never seen him before, and you're
The worst for me, because I generally watch them back. It's like game film, right? Watch it back, try to get better at it.
Take notes.
So I was watching on the treadmill, and there was one race I was watching just going, "Oh my, it's so obvious who that person is," because I'm watching it on a 50-inch screen now rather than on a pixelated laptop with 12 different. And I think I talked about after that one, but the whole race, I was so ashamed. I was sweating like out of my pores, like on my cheeks before my workout even got going. So I was like, I'm so embarrassed. This is
stress yourself out. Use
it
all
was
your
Hyrox.
energy.
I was like, and we haven't even seen Megita yet, and Megita's on screen in front
Winning.
of me. That was embarrassing.
It happens.
I would ask Rich, but he's never done one. So
I have been a commentator twice now, and my points, amazing. Nothing hypocritical.
Never mind. You're Abu Dhabi. We've done it a couple times, and
That doesn't count.
Me
Me and BK were on the mic for OCR World Champs 3K, going against you and somebody.
Yeah.
And
Vij.
kicked your butt.
Yeah.
You and Vij. Nobody
You did
watched.
Battle Bunker,
VJ's got the new podcast. Should we give him a quick little shout out
1-800 Fitness. Check
there?
it out.
Ashley Heller.
Yeah. Gonna be dropping soon. It's like a Q&A format. So check them out on Instagram. Write them some questions. Have VJ chime in on your life.
I have a hard time telling recently when he posts something if it's satire or not.
I think that's his bag.
Yeah,
I didn't know this was actually a podcast for a while that he was actually going to do.
it's actually
I know that now, but when I first saw it, I thought it was an extenuation of VJ Joggins.
He likes to be in the gray. He doesn't want to be defined as any one specific thing.
I like it.
So it could be real, could be not real. You got to decide. It's up to it's your own journey with VJ.
Imagine if
VJ
David
Joggins.
Goggins sends him a question. That's going to be like VJ Joggins meets David Goggins. That could be the greatest.
Those two would not be compatible.
Unlikely. Yes.
No.
I don't see them jiving very well. All right. Well, let's move on. Hyrox Warsaw, and I saw how they spell Warsaw in Poland. That is not how I would spell it. That's for sure. So it was the
the
first
metric
race
system.
in Poland. We had on the men's side, Eric Woodward took the victory in 63.10. Then we had Graham Holiday second, 64.11. Martin Michelius was 64.25. And Austin Azar, notable from North America, was 65.58. On the women's end, we had Caroline Worden was 72.31. Bonnie Lohman was 72.56. And Hannah Bergen, a lot of N's. Everyone's ended with N. Was 118.24. So, notably, on the men's side, these are good names we've seen before. A couple E15 people. Eric Woodward, solid. He's got a couple 62s to his name. These times are bad.
Eric was
These
in
are-
Heat 2 also, right?
What, is that right?
That I thought I saw something that the winner was from Heat 2. Because Austin said he crossed the line in third and then got bumped down. Maybe I misread his recap, but if that's true, that's crazy.
Because
So what do we make of
He's
this?
done 62s before.
Because for
Yeah.
almost all the men, we have markers from relatively recently of what they've been able to accomplish. So what do we
Very
make
recent.
of the Warsaw race?
They got some American sleds over there in Poland. Look, that's what it looks like to me. Plus some. Did they put the wrong weight on it, you think?
That's what I'm saying. I want to give them
Seriously.
the credit that we've been denying them for years, which is I think they got screwed over.
Ridiculously
I
screwed
think they
over.
got maybe the worst course time-wise in history. The only thing that could have been worse is if they had pulled off that indoor-outdoor parking garage elevator escalator ramp of New York.
Miami. They had Miami.
Yeah,
120 was the winner there. Garrett Mitchell. Holler.
not accurate.
Just an off day for the whole field.
Yeah.
Standardized. So, notably here, Martin Michelius and Graham Holiday, they've been in the Elite 15. Graham Holiday finished 5th this past year at the World Championships. Martin Michelius was somewhere in like the 8 to 9 range in 2022. And then Martin was the top age group finisher outside of the Elite 15 at Manchester and just snuck under 60. So he's been under 60 a couple of times now. Graham Holiday has like a 57.10 or something like that in Glasgow. And then
Not so much.
Is this the
Not-
biggest spread we've ever had from a sub 60 guy?
Makita with his back probably.
Yeah, I
Could've-
mean, if you're looking at numbers, probably, but if it's from
2 podium efforts, a
two
57 and a
podium
64.
efforts, yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah.
in the wrong direction. Sometimes we'll see athletes, and I think Graham was one of those. I think he was like a 69, and then dropped to a 57 in like 2 races. But now, this is just way, way, way the other direction.
Yeah. Is that making you nervous for Madrid when you're heading over there? Like, did Hyrox Europe do anything different?
I was looking at some of those Spanish races and like kind of looking at the sled times and like comparing them to like some of the athletes who came to the North American race championship races, and then plugging their sled times into the Spanish times, and I just looked at all the Spanish races. We're gonna be fine.
Okay.
We're gonna be fine.
Good.
over there.
I think it's win-win for you because if it's a fast course, you get to put up a fast time.
It'd be great.
But if it's
Yeah.
a grind of a course, you get to you have the opportunity to prove that you've been right the whole time and that you can beat Europeans on a grind. And then you just come out in first and say, listen, I beat everyone head to head. It's what I needed to know. So I think it's win-win for you.
I really need a time. I don't really need to win.
Yeah, but it would be good
Yeah.
for you in your, like, not your brand, but your image to just give some credence to what you've been saying. But
A
you
little
do need
bit.
time.
I would much rather run a fast time and get like 3rd and then still be able to run in Chicago or wherever. Because if I go over there and get these sleds, my season might be over. Like, I might not be able to race in a single open race the entire year if this Spanish course is a Poland course.
I picture Rich wheeling the course, weighing, measuring, counting the stacks, making
I'm
sure
gonna
that everything is what he wants.
I'm going to take off the weight on all the sleds and flip them over and see which ones are like the least beat up, and then just run directly to that lane. That's what I would imagine happened here, is that these Polish sleds are the old Germany sleds. These are just like hand-me-down equipment.
So I'm looking right now at Graham Holiday. He said Hyrox Poland recap. Not my best race. Not even about the time, just the mindset within the race for me, but blah, blah. Sled pull. Heaviest sled I've ever pulled. It took me 2 attempts to actually get the sled moving 2 to 4 inches. I'm not sure what was wrong here. It definitely wasn't my training. I'm the fittest and strongest I've ever been. And then my thoughts on total times, not impressed. There are at least 5 to 8 high-level elite athletes and not one sub 103. What are your thoughts on the race? So basically, he's like, something's didn't
wrong.
add up.
Rightfully
Something
so.
add up. Yeah.
Nope.
And yet he's been on the other end of it before, if I'm not mistaken, right? Where he's got the advantageous course, right?
Oh, yeah. Glasgow
Yeah.
was like...
So it's it's so variable.
So you guys
Now
all
we
got
can
me
relate,
thinking.
Yeah.
And a lot of people messaged me after our last chat about, what if I just stopped and walked? People were like, I think I would do that. I think we got people's heads turning. If you've tipped, treat it like an interval set, because you can blow up an interval and get back on it.
For sure.
So that got me thinking then, with that scenario that you just described, let's say that when you warmed up, because what got me thinking this morning on top of that is I just replaced the batteries in my rower monitor, and it erased everything I had.
Oh, does that?
No.
I
Why
didn't
is
know
it
that.
related to the batteries?
It doesn't have a memory. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Maybe something happened while I was
What do you got,
replacing.
like a PM1? What do you got on that?
Like a 3 or a 4.
Come on. Get that 5.
Writing it in a notebook.
Point is, when I turned it back on and was going through all the options, I saw that you can test the drag factor.
Yep.
I was like, all right, all real ergers would tell you that's the first thing you need to do when you get on a machine is test the drag factor so that you can see where I should set the damper to actually be at the drag factor I want to pull at. A 7 is not a 7 across the board if the drag factor is different. So if you went through a course prior and you identified the ski erg or the sled or the rower you wanted to be at, how much would you be willing to overcook in order to get to that one and then rest? Let's say your sled push, for example. There was one that was significantly newer than all the others. How fast would you be willing to go to get to it? And then would you be willing to just rest there for a bit?
Rest
Just
after.
literally arrive at the sleds and just shake
should
out
rest
for
after.
30 seconds.
And then just, all right, I'm going to take 15 seconds, 20 seconds just to calm. And then I get an easier sled rather than I'm going to get here under control, but this sled is beat up and old.
I think that...
Go ahead, Rich. Oh, I was just going to give an OCR comparison where it's like everyone sees that this particular Z-wall doesn't have mud on it and it's leaning a certain way. People sell out to get to that one. So I think there is precedent, but you can talk Hyrox specific. Or
How much would you be willing to put into that?
might be worth it if it's bad elements.
Well, say yes.
If it's the first one.
If it's the first...
Let's say it's the first sled. You know you have to get there
gotta get
first.
there.
And
But it's going to be
it's
30
7,
seconds
8
better.
minutes. Yeah, it's 7, 8 minutes into the race. At that point, it's like, or I guess 10, but that might be worth it.
A good sled push a good versus like a bad could be like 2 minutes. It could be 2 minutes difference. So you could rest a full minute after that sled push. You get 60 seconds. Because I would rest after. I would keep pushing it, give it that, and then I would walk out of there.
Walk. Yep.
And
I'd
you'd save
split
a
it.
minute. You'd split it.
Yeah.
No,
I'd
'cause
rest
you
to
save
get it
time.
out of my system. Because
I
you
wouldn't rest on
overcook,
that
you don't
sled
want to
push.
blow up on a nice sled.
But that's where you save so much time. I wouldn't want to get to the sled push and then just like... So you're saying you would save the time up front by selling out to get there? I'm saying
thinking
I
more
would
energy.
sell out and then hammer the thing till I can
Yep.
get that benefit of the sled.
I'm
Okay.
with
And then-
Rich.
and then
I'm with
walk it out.
Rich has a big lead. You go right into it, just selling out on it. You might cause other competitors to sell out, thinking that you're just having a great day, even though realistically you've got a butter sled.
A minute. And so, okay, so then let's do that math then. So, yeah, a fast K, say that's, what do you think I'd have to be to be first no matter what?
20.
320?
20.
And then I could pull like 143s probably is where I could pull and come
Then you
out
have
of
to do
there.
another 325.
And then another 325. So where are we at? We're at
About
or
10
at
minutes.
like 10 minutes, like a 10-ish minute hard interval, and then into like a minute 45 sled. Or
You
like
might
12
need 90
minutes.
seconds.
Yeah, you might need 90 seconds. You might need that. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's kind of a long interval.
And Bracken,
But-
you're saying that you know that the other ones are basically like glued to the carpet. That is
They'll
the
be
golden
Poland.
sled.
They'll be Poland sleds.
Yeah.
Man,
Or
I think it's
that's
worth it.
bad.
so then that continued my line of thinking down, and we had been talking about on Running Public about how you can average for, let's say, a 2-hour race, you can average your lactate threshold heart rate in a trail race or OCR because you're going above and below.
Averaging
You can't
out.
average you can't run 170 for 2 hours. You can only
Right.
run it for an hour.
Cardiac
but you
drift's
can
going to get you there. Yeah.
well, even just you can't physically hold it for longer than an hour if it's your true lactate threshold.
If
You
you're
can
like the
average
most
it
well
for
trained
2
on the
hours
planet, even. Yeah.
if you
Okay,
go
I
above
see.
below.
I see.
Since Hyrox is the ultimate game of don't tip, what if you decided to do the opposite way and fartlek it? Has anyone yet tried to treat it like a doubles or a fartlek workout and crank, rest? Usually it's like, I'm going to work an entire station and rest on the next station, but like fartlek run or fartlek sled or anything like
during
that. Would you
the actual
consider
pieces.
up, down the whole time?
You're
Treat
saying
it
like
like
a-
an interval workout.
Like a 3.5 minute fartlek at that
No,
point?
like a 60-minute fartlek run.
So like you come out of the sled, you push the sled hard. Well, the sled's kind of far like anyway because you have to put in rest. But like you do the first lap of your
Okay. I
run
was wondering
easy,
if you meant
and then
laps
do
or
it
the-
hard, and then do it easy again.
Yeah,
kind
or
of.
30 on, 30 off the whole run.
That's not going to get you a faster time.
It might equal. I think you could get pretty close.
I'm just looking at it from like the track and field world. There's a reason people don't make these big surges and then I know it's not the same as running, but
the
like
same.
from an
Well,
energy
they're all short
standpoint,
races.
would you do that in the marathon? Would you be like, all right,
Some do.
this 400 I'm going to be running at 440 pace, and this next one I'm doing 5 flat pace, like for the high
My
end
guess
people?
is the average human would have as good a chance of PRing running on and off miles as if they tried to just run it steady the whole time.
The maybe not highly trained.
Non-highly trained, and I also think that the sub-elites, how many times do we see these like 214 to 224 guys PR in training and bomb on race day? Because they're trying to ride an edge on race day, they can't, and if they fall off it at all, they're off. But in training, when they're doing like 5 miles tempo, 5 miles marathon pace, 5 mile tempo, they'll end up running like CJ Albertson ran what, 212 or 214 in training one time?
Yeesh.
But he's blown up as many
Nasty.
times as he's succeeded. I think that there's something to it if you can't ride it perfectly. Over, under. I don't know if it
Bracket.
would work for Hyrox.
My only caveat with that is I would take the opening lap, however long, if it's 333 or 500 or 250, whatever that opening one is, that I would start off slow, because people who, if you're talking about your average athlete, pacing is something that they struggle with, so don't go out too fast.
I agree.
And then back to Warsaw, Austin Azar was there. His sled pull was 6'10". He's like 200 pounds and has the grip of an absolute gorilla. Like
it was
legit.
shorter. It was almost the same length as his dead hang.
Yeah,
Yeah.
legitimately. So like that's not an off day.
Just like CrossFit Madrid, he just had a bad day. He wasn't,
Bad day.
He wasn't in a pull cycle.
We don't want to hold it against them, you know.
Yeah.
There are athletes you can look at them and be like, I understand he wasn't peaked, or I know he's mentally fragile. Austin walks
On a
around
pole.
in ready to die fitness. And
Yeah.
he walks
Yeah.
around in I can take myself to any place I need to go fitness.
And if Grant, I mean, this is an early season race for Grant, but if he's saying he's fit, I mean, that's not a great sign for him. Because even if, like, I mean, even 63, if you take off, 4 minutes, he's still, 2 minutes slower than his PR? If you're giving 4 minutes on the sled, which would be
But it's what does it
gracious.
do to you?
Yeah,
We all know
it's-
that feeling of coming off a sled blown up and you can't access anything.
Nope.
In
Right.
theory, you should come off ready to run.
Yep.
But you're not, because you're under tension for so long. Even though it's not cardiovascular, you're just under muscular contraction for so long.
Yeah, it's restricting blood flow. It's just like taking a lot out of you. And then mentally, man, if you're sitting there for that long, it's going to be hard to get back into it because you're like, maybe I suck today.
It's basically like you hit a false summit on a hill. You're like, oh, all I have to do is make it to this point, and then it's like, crap, I have 2 more minutes left, and like you burn the candle already, and you're in trouble. But
burnt that match. Are we
what do you
burning
do?
candles now? Do you have full candles to burn?
the match. Well, you
Like-
use a match to light a
DK?
candle, I guess.
Do I have candles to burn?
What? How's it work? I thought it was we burn matches.
Yeah. Maybe Jack's preparing for a blackout.
Jack
true.
burns candles.
So
Yeah.
what does the athlete do? What do you do? What do the listeners do if they run into the impossible burger of sleds? How do you readjust and be successful?
When it's like this, all it can then potentially turn into is just practice in your mental game and trying to stay present for the remainder of that race. You know, like it's in terms of time, it's shot. You're not going to be able to make it back. You know, like you said, because time under tension and just the time it took to do it, like you got to run the race you're in then. You just got to turn it into who's around and race them.
Does
Yeah,
this make you want to overload like crazy for like one workout per week and have some 6-minute sleds that are at like 1,000 pounds just to make sure you know?
I don't know. I think I might overload a little bit today. I only have a week. I'm out of here. Next Wednesday, I'm gone.
Full taper.
Gonna do some taper. I'm gonna hit it this week, pretty
Yeah.
hard, and then relatively regular taper.
Yeah. Let me just add one other. Actually, we should probably answer Bracken's question. I was gonna say, do you think you know right away, like push number 1, you're like, oh, this is a bad one today. Like your first effort off the line, I think that you can sense that almost immediately. You're like, this is gonna be a bad day. Time's going out the window. If you see like 4 or 5 people who don't struggle on sleds like come up next to you and they're in trouble, at that point you're right. It's just a mental battle for the rest of it. You're not gonna qualify based on time at that point, and maybe just try a new technique. Maybe burn yourself out just so you might know that feeling for the rest of the year if you come across it again, or how you're gonna feel fatigue later in the race later in the year. But I think you just kind of wave the white flag at that point, because you know you're not going to run a fast time.
So, Rich, you get, let's say in Spain, you get to the sled push and it is outrageously slow and heavy. Do you immediately reassess and say, I'm doing push 3 to 4 steps and stop and rest short? Or are you saying, as soon as I get it moving, I go as far as I can and then take as long as I need?
Probably the former. Just like moving it and not blowing myself up. Because if it's immovable like that, yeah, like half the distance or 3/4 the distance I'll probably give all that time back just on the rest between the next push. So I'm probably just inching it along, just like shimmying it, something like that.
Okay.
What do you think if you're Graham Holiday in this? I don't know what the rules say, but if you are pulling that sled and it's not budging, can you go to a different lane? Because there's a timing mat in the middle, and there's a chip. I believe there's a chip on the sled somehow. Or no, that can't be right. That's what they say anyway. That there's something
'cause
in the
people
middle.
have hit that timing mat.
Yeah.
Like Rylan had an issue with going over the bump from the timing mat, right?
Well, I had something like that in Dallas, but I think that was just the freaking floor itself. They just put it on like a grate. There's a good place for sled push. How about right here? But there is a way that it measures the way, like down and back. That's how they can assess penalties if you don't do the full. So like if you're pulling it and like pull it 3 inches and don't get halfway, and you're like, this sucks, I would probably move to a different sled. I think that's what I would do at this point now. If I get to Spain and like I'm pushing it for an inch, I might just back it up and move somewhere else.
Just pull the I don't speak Spanish card. You're good.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's true. And I would just that's
Yes,
the,
no
the opposite
bueno. No
the
bueno.
opposite of on hell. Just be like,
Muy
don't know.
malo.
That's what I think I would do. I think I would go to if
Yeah.
in that scenario where I'm flying to Spain and on the second station I'm hit with a sled that is just immovable. I'm gonna try to take a bet that maybe another lane won't be bad, because that is a likely scenario with Hyrox, like that the sled 3 lanes down might be better than the sled that you're on.
Yeah.
Standardization.
Do you think
Yeah.
you can tell by looking at them the state of the bottom?
If I saw the bottoms,
No, if you
Probably.
couldn't see the bottom. You tell from the sides and top what the bottom might be like. You pick your horse in advance, Big. It's one of these three I want to try.
You might be able to tell because of the carpet. Like if it's all crazy, it might be like some people were struggling here. But that's the only thing I could think of.
So you're saying if I saw other people push it, and then I'm like, I bet the bottom of that one is worse than that one? I don't know.
Watching Age
I
Group
think
in Chicago, watching Rob Pettyjohn and some people go through, there were a few times that a new group got in, and one sled just went. And people are looking at it, and one of the times it was one of the runners was just moving it. And then the next time through, like a dad by guy came through and just moved that one. And I was thinking that either they were both prepared for this, or that sled actually is just moving better. Like if you're not the first wave, I think I'd be perched right there watching sleds.
Yeah, I know.
Pull also. Don't only
Taking
focus on the
notes.
push.
Like, all right,
Yeah.
1 and 3 look good.
And then just
All right, now 3 looks bad. 1 and 5 might be my options.
Do they
try
funnel
to
you
direct
though?
it. They try to, but you don't have to. I've done it before
Okay.
where I've gone like to a completely different end, and they're like, no,
Yeah.
no, here, and I'm just like, no, yeah,
Nah, I got this. Yeah.
no bueno.
No bueno.
Adios.
I have bad gas. Stay away.
Heck yeah. Meatballs, not good.
Meatballs.
No. So,
All right.
so real quick, just one last point on this. I'm looking at Graham's summary. Also, I forgot to mention this. He said Eric swooped in on the second heat and took first. So that is confirmed.
That's crazy. Why would he be in the first heat? That makes me worried. Even though not really. Like, I can run this by myself. I could run this
Maybe
with
better.
no one else. It might be better. It might be better. Yeah, that'd be fine.
That'll get
We
it.
used to talk about that at stadium races, that one of these times we'd like to be in the second wave and
Just
just
run
get a
people down?
free run and not worry about
yeah.
tactics. I think Hyrox is the same way.
Could be.
Just be the fastest in your heat, chill through the ski, and then be like, wow, these sleds are great. Look how much faster I am than everyone.
Not looking
Might be your
around.
best path.
Yeah, no, I would be okay with it. I should have put in a different time. I should have put in like a 80-minute projected time, getting that slower heat.
Maybe somewhere in the middle.
I saw the course maps out. Of course, that's not the way to say it, but it is, I guess, a course map. It's like a 2.5 looper.
Good.
It kind of looks like
400s.
Chicago, where the in is one, and then it funnels you out the other direction. It looks good. It looks fine.
Okay.
Those are longer rock zones, but they're not rhythm breaking.
No,
Which
there's
for
no
you,
like, turns,
Let's get the longest rock zone we can have.
Yeah.
and it's not going to be like Chicago. Like the long section there is ski erg. It's not burpee broad jump, so we know it's not like
Good.
100
Come out of
yards.
it. Yeah.
Or like
Right.
when it's stretched one, because in Chicago it's burpee broad jumps at point to point, so you know it's at least 80 meters. Yards in CrossFit. My bad. 80 yards in CrossFit.
Nope. Still the same.
Oh yeah, we measured it. So I know. So the rock zone might be that long, but it's not that plus. Like in Chicago, it's like probably 100 yards, 100
Right.
meters.
So
of,
if we're
rock zone.
watching, if we're looking at the splits, watching your race, should we assume you're going to be a little behind time wise because of that long first rock zone, and then it'll continue to chip down? Is that we
I
should
think that first rock zone should actually be kind of fast because you'll run through it and then you can run to the end of the ski erg, and the first run is going to be a little bit short. I think
Okay.
the first run is about
So it'll equal, short first, long right after it, and it'll
the
in
rest of the
theory, be
rock
about
zones.
good.
Yeah, the rest of the
Okay.
run should be a little bit longer.
Cool.
And I have this theory that people approach the rock zone the way they're going to approach the rock zone, regardless of how long the runs are. So the people that know I recover on the rock zone and I get to work once I get on the course, they're going to do that whether it's 40 meters out or 400 meters out. And people like yourself, and I would say a Dylan or a Kent or a Megiddo, people that want to use the rock zone, I think long rock zones only help because the distance is going to be roughly the same. You've talked about that. It's run plus rocks is roughly your 8K. And so the
8.7K,
more
right?
8 point something, yeah.
8.7. The more you can put into the rock zone, I think the more it benefits the true compromised runners who want to weaponize the rock zone. Because if it's 100 meters out, they're going to dog it for most of those 100 if they plan on dogging it out anyway. I don't think most people adjust on the fly for, I give myself 20 seconds or 20 meters of feeling sorry for myself and then I get to work. So I think it would help you being on a long rock zone.
Yeah, I don't, especially without turns. Like a long rock zone that's all turns and like in and out, like that's not great. And you got to think about where you're going a little bit.
But if it's
just you
straight
go out and
running,
turn right,
either way.
yeah, come in, turn right into the station, go out of the station, turn right again. Should be good.
You watch people come off the sleds, and they're just deciding, I'm going to get my life together until I'm on the track.
Yeah.
And sometimes that is a long way. Or same thing out of lunges.
But that's also why a short rock zone is advantageous as well, just because we can get onto the course and get that rhythm in right away.
Right.
Yeah. Less weaving though at that point, but
For sure. I think the race is like 6:30 p.m.
heck
Spain
yeah.
time. Late. Chilling.
That's
No,
good
that's
for
probably
you.
that's probably good for you.
Yeah,
It'll
noon
feel
here.
more like U.S. time. That's like 11:30
11 for
a.m.
you.
You're going to be jet lagged a little bit.
I'm still going to be up all day. You know, it's not like I'm
Yeah.
going to sleep until noon.
Yeah.
Maybe. That'd be great. All right. We had a DEKAFIT in St. Louis that no one saw. No one's seen results. Nothing? Jackie?
I texted Yancey and he said that no results impacted the top 20. So he
Period.
was going to try to send me a report on it, but it just didn't happen.
Let's move along then. Let's talk
How
about
would
the
you feel showing up there, doing your first one, or running your best time, and they'd be like, I don't think we're going to give results for this.
Sorry, nothing. And the results for the roadshow are
Well,
a disaster
I also talked with Patrick Hamill. He's the guy basically behind the scenes who does all the results for Deca and works with Spartan also. So he said it was all timed in-house by First Form. So that's a little different than what they've done. So it could have just been a communication issue. They're just not posting it
They just
yet.
don't have it somewhere.
But
yeah.
it's not the normal way of doing it, because you saw that they had the Indianapolis Roadshow up there pretty quickly. They've had Puerto Rico. They've had, the road shows get up there. And also, shout out to Patrick. I don't know if you saw the new Deca results at races. They show different splits, run splits, zone
Good.
splits, total, like the good
Each
breakdown.
run?
Get it? Yeah, we had a nice
Nice.
phone call. He's working behind the scenes to like retroactively add stuff as well from the older races. But it's going to
Whoa.
be run number 1 was a minute 40
Which is immediately
plus,
on the website.
Oh yeah,
What's going
Oh,
on?
yeah. No, Patrick was very, very open to making some changes. So good guy.
Good.
That's great, because that's something
Yeah.
that, I never want to assume how these things work, because I don't know. I've never seen how it works. But if you can get splits for the station in and out,
Yep.
like there should be splits available for each run, right?
Yep, exactly. And so it'll have run time plus zone time plus total for that run plus zone plus cumulative into the race. So it should have 4 different columns, and that way you can see like I reached zone 5 in 15 minutes this time, and last time I was 15:30. So I ran really well in the first half of the race, for instance, or went out too hot. So I think that a lot of athletes are going to see a pretty good benefit from this.
That's great. Very helpful. So here's Meg Jacoby's time.
It's exactly what you'd hope for from a sterile station-based event, that you could just make it so data-driven. So good on them.
Yep, and do you see that gap column also? That is behind the fastest person. If it's a dash next to it, that means that Meg, with their 156.3, had the fastest run, but she was 2 seconds slower on the lunges with her on the run leading into the lunges, for instance. So I think that it's really good information.
How many times have you made a chart like this for one of your athletes or yourself, Rich? For Hyrox or...
All the time.
Yeah, this is
All
what
the time.
this is like. All you do as a hybrid
Yeah.
coach is like, all right, here we'll pull in your data from Chicago and we'll pull in yours from Dallas, and here's how you rank, and you're bolding where you were plus and italic where you were minus, and now they're doing it for you. That's fantastic.
That's
Yep.
great. And that's something because you can't get these run splits. I can get mine because I can watch the live stream
YouTube.
and I can sort of make it out. Like, oh, here I come in, stopwatch.
There are
Here I
like
go out
10
and stopwatch.
people in the entire day who can get their run splits, basically.
For sure, men and
Yeah.
women, and double.
And the rest are telling your athletes you're working with, like, hey, I know it's tough, but try to remember to take splits if you want us to be able to use them. And it's always like, I came off of the row and I forgot the rest of the time. And this is good.
Oh, this is interesting.
Very
yeah,
good.
this is great actually. And hit it there. Okay, tell me what the gap is again.
So 133 for Meg on her air bike, and 5.4 seconds was the gap. That means that presumably Carly was 5.4 seconds faster than her on the air bike.
The fastest person was that much faster.
But Meg was the fastest on the ski erg with her 2:05.2 because she has a dash next to her for the gap.
And with the run, too. So there's some runs where she wasn't the fastest. That's pretty crazy. Who ran 5 seconds faster than her after the ski erg?
I don't know. You could look it up.
Who did it? I want to know right now. Okay.
You think I know? Yeah.
Check.
Yeah.
Who did this?
But bottom, also the cumulative column right there that shows you where you're at.
That's great.
So
that's great
good stuff.
The only thing I would want more than that is the actual zone rank. The way
they had that in the
does.
previous one.
But does the zone rank, let's say you're in lunges and it shows you 11th, but you're 3 seconds slower in the lunges. It's like, is there really enough you can do at that point? And
it's just fun.
I know, but you do have a limited card. So Rich is looking at this on a PC. If you're on your phone, it might be a little overload. But I see your point. That's
It's just they had it.
Stupid laptop.
They've replaced it with better things.
Yeah,
they used to have it. Right. Okay, so now this rank is just where you were with the run and the station combined. Right?
What are you looking at?
I think it's where you are coming out of the station.
Oh, this is Rich's time. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that's actually kind of cool, though. You can kind of tell. If you're an elite racer, you can kind of tell where you're at.
Yeah. You were fourth after the med balls heading into the ski erg, and then Dylan passed you on the ski erg, so that's why you go from 1 to 2 right there.
Yep.
And then you ram that thing home.
You better believe it.
Yeah.
Where are we at?
7th to 5th.
I actually ran okay. Look at that. Plus 1.2. That's not that bad. This, however, is pretty
that zone number 8 run, not so nice.
This is slower than Meg's.
Yeah.
Meg's fast, though. Meg is fast, though. All right. Let's talk about OCR
Shout
real
out to
quick.
Patrick, anyway.
Or actually, since we're on Deka, Jack, do you have a start list or anything for...
Yeah. Oh, man, there are some names. Yancey sent me the email.
We got Deca Orlando coming up. Basically, last chance qualifier for Deca Fit. BK, how much are flights to Orlando? It's got to be cheap. Get there.
It's camping or something, right? Yeah.
Camping. Always camping.
Nope, no camping.
What would you have run? Or do you want to hear who's there so you can kind of get a sense?
Let's hear who's there.
Let's do the theoretical. All right, we'll start with the men's because they go out first. So you have Kyle Reed. I'm naming people who have run sub 33 at this point, just top end, just because they're trying to make in that top 20 for World Championships. So Kyle Reed, he was 32.44 before. Dustin Needham, I think he's been in the 33s. He'll be there. Chaz Hatton has been 32.30s. Dylan Scott.
Dylan's going.
Glenn Race coming from California.
He better be eating hot dogs if he goes down there. Why is he doing is he doing the Deca dog before this?
No. Dylan's
on
the list, but I thought that he said he's doing
this week
the hot dogs in North Carolina. So maybe he registered and is not racing. I'm a little confused now.
He's not
because he can't skip the Deca dog, dude.
He's not allowed to.
He's not going to Orlando.
Yeah, so he must have pre-registered and then decided he had his mark already from Philadelphia because it went well. So we'll ignore Dylan, but Glenn Race, he'll be there. VJ, Mark Falcone, who was in the high 32s, low 33s. Kevin Gregory, Isaac Sanderson. I am excited to see what he'll do.
Nice.
He's already in that first wave, unless a couple people bump him out, but that's probably not going to happen at this point. And then this name's Nick Riker, Johnny Maris, Aaron Nolan, and this name, I want to know how you guys think he will do. Isaiah Vidal.
Whoa.
I like it.
Think?
I don't think he's going to do very well, but I like it.
I don't think so either.
I'd like to see him do a strong.
He's actually going? Confirmed going?
Confirmed going. He signed up like 2 days ago.
I don't know, man.
Strong, nasty, mile, maybe, fits too long.
Yeah. A lot of running. A lot of high-end running.
I saw what he was doing in the running events and CrossFit semifinals, and he has lost a step or two. Like, he wasn't even winning those against CrossFitters, and he was already on the slow end for running. But his just go engine, 500 meters is short enough to kind of fake it. I have a feeling like he could be dangerous, but my gut, he'll probably do like 11:30 on the zones. He'll be a little slower than Kent and Rylan, and so I think Rich, you've been in the 11s before on the zones. Just solely due to experience. He hasn't really done a whole lot of decas, and he just learned a couple tricks. And then
probably hammer.
Yeah, probably like 6:30 pace, 6:45 pace on the runs. What do you think
This
he'll do?
this is a hard event for a CrossFitter. Honestly, this is not a good event for like Hyrox is a better event for CrossFitters than this.
Yeah.
He would have been really, really nasty at this when he was in OCR.
4 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Riker's going?
Apparently.
Why would he even go? He's just going to run 30-20,
Riker's
30-25.
at the end of the list,
30-30.
so he's a late sign up. He signed up after Isaiah, so
He's got that
Noel
teaching money
Medina
now.
as well.
Yeah, he's out
So
there
let's-
just big balling.
Yeah.
Noel
So I
Medina? Okay.
Yep.
You said Aaron Nolan's going to run Elite?
Yeah, he's in that one. I think
Okay.
he's already done age group
He's already
this
he
year
already has
at
his
one
age group
point.
qualifier.
Sacramento, because we were on a team together when we were there, so he'll be in that John Clark 45 to 49 division.
Skipped it.
BJ's got that swagger back.
BJ's going
he
sub
posted
30.
that, and he said that too. He's like, doesn't matter what my training's like, doesn't matter if I get sick, doesn't matter anything. Like I'm sub 30 without a doubt. Like that's confidence that you can't. I mean, you can fake that, but having done a Deca, you don't come in with that confidence unless you know.
I think he's going to be rock solid. I think he's going to do great. He was hoping
gonna
that
do
this was
really
going to be
well.
kind of like the West Palm of last year where everybody showed out. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad to hear that there is going to be a Riker, Glenn. Glenn versus VJ. That's like
Isaac,
SoCal
also, yeah.
Spartan race.
Old
Pick a
school
year
Southern
they've
California.
raced.
Yeah. And then, if Isaac will be in that mix. Isaac had an interesting. I'd like to see his splits really quick, but someone else say something
He
while I'm doing
hammered
stuff.
Isaiah
He was-
hammered or Isaac Sanderson hammered the zones and took it
He
easy on the
hammered the
runs.
zones. Yeah,
he won
really
like
did.
11 something on it.
What is his full end running ability, high end running ability like?
He
Chad,
got
do you know?
10th or so in Kelowna. He was around like Jesse Bruce, Austin Azar at Kelowna, and he was doing like age group heats last year. And then he won Utah. Like he's good, and I think that he, just like I, have an ultimate frisbee background, so he's probably a pretty good fast twitch athlete.
Those are that's the pinnacle of fast twitch.
No, I'm just saying I'm doing it on him, not compared to me.
You know, like me, who's got a fan.
No, I was saying the like me.
Humble brag.
He has an ultimate frisbee background, and ultimate frisbee athletes tend to be fast twitch.
Now, ultimate frisbee is definitely a sport where you'll get hurt. It would be embarrassing, but inline's no different. Inline's probably a little bit. You have no problem getting hurt.
I won an intramural championship in ultimate frisbee at Texas A&M. I was pretty good at it back in the day.
I don't doubt it.
Is that a big sport down there? Texas, a big ultimate frisbee state?
Yeah, no, we probably twice a week after I had my internship, there was like a gathering of anywhere from 20 to 40 different people on some really big field, and we used to have multiple games going on at once. Like, they had a pretty good scene there.
Crab cakes and frisbee.
I'll know where that's from.
Agriculture and ultimate frisbee. That's what we
Yeah.
do down here. That's what we do.
Pretty much,
Yeah,
yeah.
he looks like he needs to chill a little bit. I mean, he probably should chill on all the stuff, like because this run after air bike and the actual air bike itself, that's actually pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good. So he should probably chill there, I would think.
The thing looking at these splits that's
Please
been
get here.
really surprising to me is you see a pretty
slow.
big drop after farmer's carry heading into the air bike. Like, I didn't expect that to be a taxing one. Same as sit-ups. It's like after sit-ups, after farmer's carry, those two things take out more than people realize.
Puts that
looking
fear
at some
in
of
ya.
these splits.
You're like,
Yeah.
oh boy, I'm coming with it. I need to have some juice for this thing. Let me do that Rich Ryan walk situation here.
And I think that skier into farmer's combo, the race starts to punch you.
Yeah, big time.
And you don't
core,
target
core.
that until you've done it a few times, I wouldn't think. That this is going to be the spot. Everyone targets the air bike. And when you already come towards it after the farmer's carry, like, I'm not feeling as good as I wished I would heading into this air bike. Then you pull the Rich Ryan. I'm gonna dog this run a little bit.
Let me just tie my shoe. Just tie my shoe real fast.
I mean, when you think of how Deca is set up, it's like legs, 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 core,
Arms,
legs again, or
it's like
upper body, I guess.
upper, and then
Full
no, it's
body
like
for ramp
sit up.
burpees.
Like in a strong, you'll start to get blown up a little bit. Oh, I'm doing a strong this weekend. Oh shit! You got to do. It's like sit-ups, ski, and then farmers. When I get on that air bike, my arms are a little bit blown up,
For sure.
and then it's just like Full body, full body, full body.
My arms were so pumped out getting to the ram burpees at the end of my strong.
Dude, you're probably freaking yoked. 22s on those things when you're done with that, all that blood flowing into those things, into those pipes.
I could barely talk, but I was rasping for someone to take a picture. Get a pic.
Finish it, just vascular.
I was starting to worry that I didn't have the grip strength left to pick the ram up by the end.
Oh, man. Yeah, would you have your gloves on?
You know, that's the only reason I got it up.
You had to.
That's what she said. Yeah.
Oh, Jack,
Oh,
roll
my God.
right up.
Come on, dude.
You already had
This is
one
not
earlier
the
when I
place.
said eating cocks.
I got,
Whoa.
I got two
Easy there.
fresh sets of receiver gloves out here, BK. Taking them to Spain with me.
Nice.
What brand?
I think it's called Bullshit Gloves brand. I don't know. There was something on Amazon. They were like $15. They're basically disposable because I do take them off and throw them in a Hyrox. 50-50% chance of 50-50 chance of me going and getting them after the race.
I like it.
So I got two. Who's coming on the women's side, Jack?
Let me pull that up. So I know that Meg's coming, right?
Meg will be there for sure.
Meg
Camila Massa will be there.
Yep. Shannon Payne, Samantha Faddis. Both of Shannon Payne was in the World Champs last year. Samantha Faddis, I thought that she ran 20-something for DEKAMILE, so she'll
She
be
was
fit.
Samantha Moose.
Yep. Camila Massa, she's definitely capable. Amber Nelson, Claudia Pavia. We named a few of these last time, but the rest are new. But Claudia, she got third at the North American Elite Series for the 3K, so that'll be cool to see if she can hang with some of them. Jessica Caviglia, who podiumed earlier this year. Lauren Griffith, Vivien Tufuto, Alex Walker, Terra
Whoa.
Jackson, Sarah Grippy. Wow, we've got
What?
World Champs.
this is turning into Palm Beach again last year.
We're going to have Terra Meg.
That's what we want.
And Terra just took back a world record.
She did.
By
She
a
beat
second.
1 second. Was it 1913?
Doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile.
In a DEKAMILE,
Vin Diesel said that, and it's never been disproven.
Vin Diesel. A win is a win.
A win is a win.
Yeah. But yeah,
These are some names, dude.
yeah, like Alex Walker, she might be seeing, okay, if I shave some time off, what would it take to get her into that first heat? She needs like a minute off, but I thought she was in the 34s last year. I'd have to relook it up, but she's faster than a 35, 50, or 48. She should
I
be.
worry for her in a race like this just because of how stacked it is. If she goes and mixes it up with Meg up front, that ain't going to be good.
She's a
true.
strong enough runner, and she's a good enough hill runner and athlete that when you come out and you run, sure. Lunge, sure. Row, then box. Oh, boy. Like you can get your way through those off being as good as she is at things. You don't necessarily feel it.
Jessica Biglia. Yeah, so I hope that because her time, she's 17th now, right? So she should be in Worlds. I don't know if there'll be 3 people to bump her back.
Yeah, I was going to say like Michaela.
And Viola,
And
okay,
Viola,
she's on here
couple-
twice too. So she's
Yeah.
really like 14th, 15th. So she should be safe. She might be pushing to get into that fast heat.
But I'm thinking like a couple of those women are going to bump out. So really, she's
sure.
15,
Can we see
13.
her
yeah.
splits? How she ran hers?
Alex?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's backdated at this point.
Let's just click it.
Let's just have a look. So you said it's Meg, Vivien, Terra, Alex Walker. Those are some of the Shannon Payne, who was in the top 12 last year. Samantha Faddis, who I think is going to be at Battle Bunker final.
Camila Massa.
And Camila Massa. Wow, this is stacked. This is
It's better than the men's.
well, it's definitely better than men's. I was gonna say it might be better than Pennsylvania, but
Nah, they had Rich Ryan. They had the reigning world champion.
on the women's side, in terms of a spectacle watching that world champion, if you root against them, they're happy.
I think
You
the
won't have
fact
that
that
chance.
we have Meg versus Terra, like,
Huge.
regular season, this is going to tell a lot.
There's not a lot of sports where those top dogs go at each other leading into the world championships.
Yeah. You'll see it
Yeah.
after the season for track and field. Like you saw a couple of upsets in. Didn't Carson Wormholm? Didn't he lose a 400 hurdles race after World Champs? Like everyone faces each other at Worlds, and then they kind of open up their schedule. Like, sure, I'll finish the Golden Series or not Golden Series, the
Diamond.
Diamond League. But leading into it, yeah, they kind of not dodge each other, but you rarely see it.
I get why people show up after winning an Olympic title or a world title to the next few races because appearance fees. You can't pass them up as a runner, but I can't think of anything worse than prepping all the way for a world or Olympic championship, winning it, and then having to get your shit back together and try to race like 5 days later.
Seems terrible.
I want to be on that champagne tour for like a month.
And then you've got to go to Eugene for the final. Like you're bouncing around the world also.
Yeah.
So looking at Alex's splits here, unless she was super conservative on this row, Meg would have put 20 seconds on her just on the second.
Just on the row?
Just on the row.
Dang.
So either she needs to overcook it or she needs to pick her spots. She should probably pick her spots so she can kind of rally late.
Yeah.
I don't think she should engage.
If I'm Alex, I'm racing to get into the top 10 world champs rather than remaining in heat 2. That's probably the smarter way.
And Camilla's going to be interesting in this field where she's pushed a lot of her chips into the Hyrox pot and she does really well there. She's a powerful, strong athlete, and her running is coming along. This short of an event wouldn't necessarily bode that well for her, but she's just improved so much. Mm-hmm. So same thing, if she just doesn't overcook early, like she spends all of her time doing this, so I could see her making a push. I mean, this podium's stacked. She can make a push for it, but if it's like Meg, Vivien, Terra...
Yeah. And did you
Which
see
one of those do you want to
what-
beat?
Yeah.
Might be hard this time through.
Yeah. Did you see what Terra did on the rower recently?
No.
2K time trial? What do you think she did?
7 flat, because you're saying it's going to be amazing.
Bracken, what do you think?
7:08.
7:02.
Pretty good.
Not too many women in the sport are doing that.
Pretty good. And she
Yeah,
did
that's
well.
really solid.
We'll have to see
I didn't
where
break
her
7
running
my
is.
first attempt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my first attempt I was 6:59, and I was stoked. I was
Yeah,
like,
I think it was
nasty.
7:06 or something.
Yeah, I went like 6:53 or 4 earlier this year, and I was like, yeah.
Crushed. But that'll be interesting. I mean, so Tara's obviously in station fitness. We'll see how her running is coming along and how she. I wouldn't expect her to engage with Meg early. Maybe try to pull what she did last year.
She's a smart racer.
Yeah. So if her fitness is coming along that way, but I don't know. If I'm Terra going into this race, I'm getting there just to see what it's going to be like to race Meg and not necessarily coming in being like, I'm going to beat Meg.
Yeah, I think I've come to the conclusion that for these type of events, that leading into the championships, you either stay off people's radar or you try something.
Uh-huh.
I don't think you go out and do what you're going to do at championships. And I think if you're not a top 3 contender, I think the Megiddo approach is just mandatory, especially if you're a Hyrox athlete coming over, like Camilla. I think it's mandatory you run like Megiddo. You power your way through the back half of this and force yourself up into the race. There's just no way I would want to be fading halfway through and be new to it at the same time. I would rather show up to the finish line and be like, I should have gone a station or 2 early and have some positive momentum heading into the end of the year. I think you just Megiddo it.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're kind of in the situation where Rich is at currently, realistically, and you're probably not on people's radar, and that's what happened last year. Just listen, and then you're off. Yeah, you're off people's radar, and then you can kind of make a move on them then because they saw you get beaten the last time you were out there.
I talked with Hunter yesterday, and he talked about L.A. And we were talking. He's like, you just have to find the line sometimes. Mm-hmm. Like, and I blew up, and everyone was saying he's like, I took so much crap for that, and I had so many people say that I was done. I was just like, no, I tried to run a world record pace in everything I did for 4 straight weeks leading up to that, and I was overcooked, and I decided to go for it anyways just to feel. And then as a result, he got to championships more fresh and knew exactly which line to ride in order to make surges and break people and be able to gap and pump his fist and fire everyone up. He credits his LA race to that. So I think you either Megiddo or you Hunter, but I wouldn't go out and do the exact same thing I'm about to do.
No, especially if you need a time, right? Like, and if are any of these fringe athletes here, Jack, are we seeing Maddie Mansberger, Julia Ashley, Laura Winkleman?
I would have named them off. I don't see them. Scroll down to Jess Caviglia just to see where she's at.
She's
she
29,
might be
so
29.
it's about a minute.
She might need some help.
It's about a minute. And
Too
with
bad
Camilla
McChesney
coming
can't
in,
do another one.
I think Bethany's going to get in
she's had a couple shots.
by roll down.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we got and we all have to subtract one from each of these because Viola is on here twice.
Yeah.
Michaela's
I think
not
she
gonna
could have a
show out.
legit shot at getting to 13 or 14 if she did another one and then rolling down into the fast heat.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's the downside of being Canadian.
She's had 2 shots.
Hybrid events just aren't populous where you live.
She's down here.
Yep.
They got one. It was in the rain, but they were out there doing it.
Get one per country.
The other
That's
name that we need to talk about, because she never gets talked about, is Vivien, who's sitting in second place. And we talked about Meg, how she's going to crush it. We talked about what Terra's strategy is, and we just skipped Vivien like usual. It always happens.
I mean, that's not. I mean, second place is not going to be easy for Terra. Not saying that she wouldn't win, but saying that I don't know. I don't know who I would pick straight up.
Pull up Vivien Splits from Philadelphia. I'm curious on that.
Vivien ran that a hard way.
Yeah.
She crushed. I think she crushes as she always crushes. She's locked in, dude.
That's the thing with her, right? She's to that point where you start to not question how she'll do.
Yeah.
You just know I can rely on her to execute.
She had some of the fastest runs. Like being faster
Mid-race,
than
she
Meg in
crushed,
any
yeah.
run. She didn't take off. She must be confident going into the bike that she can come in and only be a second off of Carly and still be able to run hard into it, where the rest of us are like, I don't think I
after
like the
having
way
the
that
fastest-
bike's going to feel.
And she had the fastest farmer's carry as well.
She tied Meg exactly on the farmers.
Fastest run after the assault bike, too.
Yep. And she didn't panic. You saw her 13th coming out of Ram Lunges. That probably includes people from the following heat as well. But third,
Yeah.
fourth, and then held second after the med ball the rest of the entire race.
This is a tough podium. Jack, who are you picking?
Oh, of course, throw to me.
Go to you.
I'm
locked in.
going Meg, just world record holder. We saw what she did.
And she's only done it one time.
I think solely because she's sitting in second place, and I'm just really impressed. I'm going Vivien second place, and no disrespect to Terra, who just set the DEKAMILE world record and was the Deca Fit World Champion. I'm putting her third. I just think Vivien's in a good place right now, it seems, without seeing a whole lot of her recently.
BK, do you want to go? What do you got?
I'm going to take the Deca World Mile record holder, then Vivien, and then Chris Rogloski.
You're just putting Chris in there.
Bold
Yeah,
strategy.
she's going to show up.
You're not
Meg's
picking-
going to go out hot and drop out. She's going to do what Hunter did in LA.
She'd have to run like 440s to overcook herself.
I'd rather see her in the men's heat.
She has to opt into the earlier race and potentially fight for a podium there. What are the guys? It's VJ, Glenn,
Isaac,
Riker, Isaac.
Isaiah.
She could be top 5. If she runs like 32 flat in the men's race.
What if she has to do men's weight?
That's the only
that
difference
different.
maker. They have the same height, they have the same distance that you have to go on the poles and the machines, but
The lunges, I bet doesn't slow her down at all.
ram burpees,
The ramp burpees will slow down.
that changes it, and then
did
farmers
them in
carry
under
as
a minute.
well.
It's going to be the dead ball is what would cause the issue. Sit-ups and dead ball.
Ram burpees, I think, are the bigger deal because they're
Ramp
flicking
burpees
like
would probably add like 20 seconds.
ram burpees. They're flicking like a toilet paper roll up there. It's
That's
so
not
light.
scaled right. Yeah, that's not scaled right. And the sled too. Sled would be
So what I'm hearing is Meg's overrated.
overrated against the dudes.
That's why you didn't pick her in your top 4 or your top
Yep.
3. So good.
I think I'm gonna do the same as Jack here. Meg, Vivien, Terra. We haven't seen Terra in a minute. Vivien's fresh
Yep.
on this.
All right,
That
then
doesn't
I'm
mean
gonna
it-
keep disrespecting Meg, Terra, Viv.
Oh, so you just flipped it. Okay.
Yeah. If we're saying Vivien's always not mentioned, then I'm going to continue that streak.
Nice.
Terra
right.
Jackson's on a heater right now.
That mile record is Pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's the record. It's pretty
Pretty
impressive.
impressive. Pretty impressive.
Yep.
And then on the men's, I'm going to go Vij. If Riker's going, got to go Riker. He's going to run no faster than 30:28 and no slower than 30:31.
Yep.
So I'll be like right in that range.
Sounds good.
And then Isaac for third.
Exact same for me.
You throw it in for the old dogs there, BK? I know you like to do that sometimes.
No, I mean, on paper, that's who it should be. What I'll say is that Riker PRs by 15 seconds.
Nah, he can't run
no.
anything but 30:2.
All of your credibility's out the window.
Yep. Bracket, where would you have finished?
VJ go.
Where would you have finished, Bracken?
I don't know, behind Meg.
So he goes from
Probably.
30-30 shape to 31-30 shape to behind Meg. Yeah.
So we haven't seen Glenn race this
Uh-huh.
year, right?
Didn't he have that battle with Kirk early on? Oh, you're talking Deka, but we've seen him race, but not Deka.
that 5K.
Race. Yeah. Check his
So
Deka mile. I thought that he did one earlier.
He's a threat. What's his PR?
31 low.
Let me say,
31.
I thought it was
20?
31, 32.
Yeah.
Let's check
Under
it.
31. Can we do from? Can we go backwards in the time in the years here?
No.
Nope. Not gonna happen then.
I think Glenn was like 2-3 seconds ahead of me last year because I was 31:47 and I think he was like 31:40 something, and I had that debacle with lunges where my guy counted too many of them, and as a result I was behind Glenn and I thought I wasn't going to be able to race, so I was bummed on that, but then I got to.
I'm gonna give myself a little star right here. Boom.
Favorite.
All right. So since we're on Deca, let's talk about one Rylan Schadegg.
You guys didn't answer how fast Isaiah would go earlier. That was my last thing on that.
Oh, 33 flat.
Flat.
33.
33 flat.
Yeah.
I
just pulled up my
32
phone here
flat.
to check what Glenn's PR is. And
31:44.
2 hours ago, inquisitive gym teacher is making fantasy football moves.
Making
This is what
moves.
happens 5 minutes before recording's supposed to start when Jack
Well-
has soil issues. Rich just switches gears.
I'm just locked in every which way. BK's feeling good. He thinks he's got the team. I believe you had the highest score in week 1 last year, too.
Brits did not have a
Took
good
second
week.
or third in the league.
Yeah, he actually did pretty well.
Yeah.
I had the lowest score of all time in week 1. That's great. It was raining. I have all Eagles, and it was raining in New England. What do you want?
Swift, I'm dropping him. What a bum.
I
Why
wouldn't.
would you ever draft an Eagles running back?
I wouldn't drop him.
I'm hoping for the second coming of Westbrook.
We got
It's been a while.
we got our guy with rib issues getting the carries right now. I
I
don't
know.
know. It's week 1. What do you want? And apparently he's a terrible listener to coaches. So, that's why the Lions are like, yeah, you're good, but you're out of here because
Got this guy coming up through the system, won't listen to any of us.
Nope, thinks he's better than everybody.
We're going to give him some PT.
Maybe we can get a breakthrough. All right, so let's talk about Rylan Schadegg. We have not seen him in a bit. Been a little bit off the radar in terms of racing, but shows up in a race out in Boise, a gym event, Deca Strong, DEKAMILE, throws down times we have never seen before. Broke a barrier in the DEKAMILE where the previous record held by Kent was 11:05. He's 10:33. And then
For the mile?
might as well
Yeah.
have been
No.
how fast it was for Strong. And in the mile, he was, I think, 16:13.
13.
16:13, where the previous record was like 16:55.
Took like
So
30 to 40
smash-
seconds off both.
Smashing the records.
Before we say anything nice about it, what were the other times like here?
Grayson Kilgore was there.
I don't think he did any of the
I
event
know.
stuff.
He did the team thing, I thought, with Rylan, because he set
That
2
was an
records.
interesting way of answering my question then.
So the organizers did say that this was going to be a fast setup, that the setup
Okay.
was as fast as it could possibly be, with it being within the bounds of the rules.
What were
right?
the machines?
Concept 2s and assault.
Videos
Yeah.
of it.
So, I mean, Rylan did this last year, and everybody's like, we don't believe it. But now it's like, this is what he just does. He can come out and hammer these gym events. Hasn't been running that much, putting in big work on machines, clearly. And we're seeing what people are going to be capable of in terms of these shorter Deka station events when focus is put entirely on there. And we're having more of like an engine-based athlete where we're seeing some of the bigger athletes who are power athletes maybe reaching where their ceiling might be, where it's still like as long as a 2 mile would be.
Yeah.
You know, like it's still a kind of like a distance event when it boils down to it. So engine and is going to win out, where size at a certain point I think will be a disadvantage in DEKASTRONG.
That strong is so outrageous.
Yeah.
A lot of really good people have taken several attempts at this.
Yeah.
To knock off 30-plus seconds is just disgusting.
Yep.
So like when Kent does his, he's like around 141, 140 on the row. And then on the skis around like 145. And then he's like 45 seconds on the assault bike. So is Rylan doing like 10 seconds faster at all of those? Is he doing like
We only need
131, 137, and 35 seconds? Because where else is there time?
Do you want to add up a theoretical thing? Like
You got your
what's
time
you do?
calculator?
I've got my time calculator right here.
Well,
So-
how much exactly did he break it by?
20 or
32
no,
seconds.
32, yeah. Yes.
How much
Deka
can you
strong.
take out? 8 to 10 seconds in an ideal setup?
Transitions.
That's what I'm-
How much?
yeah.
20 seconds.
So he doesn't have to break it by that much in reality. If let's say it's 15. He's got 17 seconds he's got to take over 10 stations.
What would be the ideal setup? Like literally inches apart and you walk laterally? Like is it like you
And
do the
pivoted so you never have to even turn directions.
Oh, so you're lunging and you walk 2 steps into the rower and then you get out of the rower and you walk like one step sideways to the box, jump over, and then 1 step sideways or forward to the sit
Yeah,
up.
it'd be like a little jagged route that
Yeah.
you're just saving steps, and you're always the way you would step off a machine naturally would take you into the next machine.
It's like you
The
can
next station.
fall off the step overs into the sit ups basically. Like you're just there.
Yes, and then having the ball set up at your head so you can kind of like dive and turn,
Exactly. Yeah.
and then having the dumbbells right next to the ski, and then having the assault bike right next to the dumbbells, so that the ski and the assault bike are right next to each other.
You would drop. You'd have your pedals set up at like a, what would you call it, like a 10 o'clock position. So you drop, step over the top of the bike onto it, and are already going.
So it's facing the other direction.
Yeah, so everything would be really intuitive. You could take 20 seconds for
And
sure.
the dead balls are right next to you. Like you get off, you get off, and you turn your body, and you're doing them.
Yeah.
And the tank is right there. Yeah, I guess it could be 20
I'm not
seconds
saying
if
that's
it's
theirs.
No. 20. Yeah. Well, maybe 20 seconds
15.
if it's a moderate setup. Like say it's like a line, right, where
Mm-hmm.
there's some steps. Like a bad setup, yeah, you can save like a minute. But good setup versus great setup, 10. I'll do 10 seconds.
Yeah. So I just did some quick math. If you do, let's just do each zone. So what, 30 to 35 seconds for lunges, minute 40 for rower.
I think it's gotta be faster than that.
And I'm just talking strapping in all like he'll probably be 135 on the display.
I bet he was 135 to 138.
Yeah. Let me just
So
let me
call
just
it
go through
140.
these.
Okay.
Let me just do my time. So 30 seconds for step overs. Sit ups 40 seconds because it's the easier method. Might even be faster than that. Minute 40 on the ski erg. And then 40 seconds for farmer's carry. I know that's a little harder with the out and back. It's probably
Yeah,
close.
that's the slower method. But yeah, say what's fine.
And then what it can't do 45 seconds on the assault bike. Let's say
I
Rylan
think it's usually
does,
like that.
yeah, let's say 40, 45, and then a minute for shoulder overs. It might be slightly faster than that. 2 minutes on the sled, 1 minute on the ram burpees. That's 10:35.
Okay. That's not absurd.
No.
It's absurd to do
it's
the
the high end of
max.
It's the high end of everything.
Yeah.
it is very good. It's the high end.
Continuous.
Of it
That's ridiculous. But
you can digest
when you break it down like that, it's like those are times that people hit. He just did it all in a row.
Yes.
Yeah, the absurdity is doing it, stringing it together.
Is it that? It's foolish to think that a human's capable of that. Just given we're in our third year, we've seen a lot of people try this with a lot of good competition, and not he just pulled a Meg, just skipped the 1 hour threshold, went into the 58s on Hyrox. Like you expected the gap to be like 10:50 for the first time, and then 10:40, then 10:30. Like it just came out of nowhere. But he's been hurt. All he's been working on his zones. Rylan's not just sitting around. Like I said it in the group chat. Like it seems crazy, but I don't think it's that ridiculous.
No, I think I agree.
I think he has the best all-around engine in sport and adjacent sports right now.
Better than LeBron?
I think he has, and we've said it from the start, he is super reminiscent of Atkins. But he's Atkins if Atkins had just grown into loving the gym.
Mm-hmm.
Like if he decided to learn movement patterns and live on machines and want to bulk up a little bit. He has that type of engine, but he's translated it to every sport he's tried.
Like Atkins meets Kent.
I don't know. I honestly don't know, other than it's just like he, to me, is the gym-based Atkins, but also mountain-based.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know of an engine like his I've ever met.
So do you think for his mile, do you think he just did his Deka strong splits and then ran a 5:45?
He's averaging 5:45 in Deca Fit. Why or faster? Why can't he do it for 1
If
mile?
If it's a good enough setup, I do think a concrete out and back is the best setup.
He had nice rounded corners. He mentioned that in his. It looked like an indoor track, basically, like a 40-meter home stretch. Just go around this building or whatever they did. Like
I would
he
want
did
a
not have
rainbow.
this- Yeah,
To run.
I think they did
I
going straight.
thought that they had a full loop for the 160. I didn't think it was out and back.
I mean, loop would be
was
even
it?
better, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's a lot of turning, man. One big turn.
But you
guess
saw
you
how
don't completely stop.
DEKAMILE, he was great at cornering last year. That was something that he stood out like a second every lap because of his cornering, and he didn't slow down when others took a nice tight turn. I think he perfected that lollipop corner.
Yeah, I mean, that's the bike racer in him, understanding to run
your
a
speed up.
rounded apex rather than to break ever.
It's like if he did that, I mean, being able to essentially go back-to-back Deca Strong world records and then do a team race in 3 days, like he might just be that 10:30 guy for now.
He's
on.
him. Rylan is him. These are really good times, man. So it's great to see these times continuing to come down. It's still pretty early. I mean, we have what? How many weeks to championships? Like
10, 11.
Yeah, like 12, I think. So who's to say you can't continue to improve, right? Because that's always on the cards, on the table. But yeah, congratulations to him setting that standard. And like I said, it did this last year too. It came out, it was like, all right, what you thought is possible, think again. We're gonna keep pushing this thing.
And what he and Grayson teamed up, they were in the high 14s for DEKAMILE teams.
Yeah, but what does that even mean?
I know that, but what I'm saying is there's not that much of a gap between like what a team can do versus an individual. Realistic, if it's like a minute and a half right there,
Right.
they're not going that much faster at that point. Like a couple seconds each zone, a couple seconds each 160 loop. That's it.
What I find fascinating about sport, especially endurance-based sports, is that it seems like every year there's an example. Someone gets injured and gets better. Now, it doesn't happen in standard running as much, but the newer the version of the endurance sport is, the more people unlock new ways of improved ways of training for it when they get hurt. You don't see it in track very often. People try to limit their atrophy, but like in ultra running, mountain running, Hyrox, OCR, how many times did someone get hurt, do something different in cross training like crazy, come back and be like, oh, I'm actually better now? Like, A, it speaks to the youth of the sport, but B, I think it's really cool every time we get confronted with the fact that we don't know most of this yet. And there's a lot of stuff to unearth. Because too often it gets like, I did the training block. I don't know how I'd ever get better than this. It's reassuring when someone does something and gets way better. Like, oh, I just tried one other thing like crazy and it worked.
Yeah. And I guess we'll just see how it does affect his run. Like if he can come back and run and hit the stations this way, like who say you can't, but it's going to need some work. And maybe that's where he's at, right? You can take these 10, 12 weeks, whatever we have coming into it, and take these incredibly high-end stations and start to work some of that running into it as well.
Yeah. For someone like me who's also dealing with an injury, like it's very encouraging seeing him doing stuff like this because I feel like my machine metrics have gone up a ton. Rich, you've seen it. Like, I hope that's a good sign for me when I come back. But like Rylan doing this, I think that's very encouraging for the injured athlete to see someone come out of it like this.
Good point. All right, on to OCR. Let's just touch on this real quick.
First time in a month.
We don't have a ton to talk about when it comes to this either. We have the FISO World Championships of Obstacle Course Racing happening this weekend in Belgium. We have the USA roster out here. I'm just going to read this off for the athletes for us to watch. On the 15K squad, we got Jamie Brusa, Annie Doobie, Nicole Miracle. On the men's side, Captain Ian Hosick, Chris Marone, Nick Mask, Sam Osborne, and Kevin Thompson. On the 3K, John Howard III, Nick Mask, Nick Moultrie, Sean Roberts, and Kevin Thompson on that one as well. On the women's side, just Nicole Miracle and Rose Wetzel for whatever reason. Not Annie or Jamie.
Kempson now.
It's really weird.
Kempson pulling the old, I'm in.
Hamstring.
I'm out. Right around this time of year is when he does that. You know? We know firsthand. Is this... So I was under the impression there's two different ways that this was going to operate. Like on the age group side of things, you get 3 bands and only 1 attempt on an obstacle. If you fail that obstacle, you lose your band. And at the end, you have to do a penalty. I was reading the rules, and it said that it didn't designate that any different than the elite race. Where my understanding was the elite race, 1 fail DNF is what I understood this race to be. Have we heard?
I've not dived deeply enough into it.
Forthcoming with you. I am out on this whole thing, and I haven't even bothered reading about it.
You're not even coaching anybody to go over there?
I just
He's not coaching him for that. You won't even do it.
bring
You're like,
myself to care about this. I know it's a terrible thing for someone who loves the sport to say, but I just don't have any attachment to this yet. And I hope I'm proven wrong, because clearly there are people taking it very seriously, and hopefully they get people out in droves, and the European contingent is huge, but I can't even like calculate how little this moves the needle for me.
Because of the laser pistols?
Because of the entire process that got us here to this point. Like, answer me the question. Who's in charge of this?
That world obstacle? Right? Do you know the
That's
answer?
all I really need to know. Like that,
and that's that.
I might just be a hater at this point, or obtuse, or a dinosaur, maybe all 3. But as long as World Obstacle is involved, to date, I've not seen a positive come from it. So this will be a positive event because it's happening. But man, do I not care.
Is there any way to watch it? Jack, do you know? I just started following him on Instagram.
I
and
don't.
I'm getting all these...
So I'll add to
uninteresting
what
things.
Bracken's saying that Europeans actually are caring a lot about it. The athletes, you're seeing some who were going to come over here a couple weeks early for OCR Worlds and stuff. They're sticking around for this. Like, it's not just the Danish athletes; it's a lot of the Belgian athletes, and you're going to see some really good names. I think it's encouraging.
Who else can we expect on the world stage
From Europe?
Yeah.
Like, if I'm willing to bet, probably this guy, Stein Legrand, he'll probably end up winning it. He ended up winning European Championship earlier this year in the long course, so he's going to be nasty at that. You've got Jonas Larsen and Leon. They're going to do really well in the 3K as well. I don't know if the Russians are allowed to compete I thought they were going to hold their event in Sochi, and there was like some big uproar over that because of the anti-doping and stuff that happened, and then COVID happened, so that initial event got canceled. And I don't remember, or I don't know where they stand at the moment, but you can't discount the Russians from doing well over there. But realistically, like, we do have some pretty solid names going over there from the U.S., but I think it's going to be a wake-up call, because European style versus North American style, especially if it's that one-and-done method that you were talking about, Rich, yeah, that might not be good for some athletes from the U.S. specifically.
Sean Roberts will be a factor.
Yeah,
He could
for
win
sure.
the whole thing.
I wish he was
He
in
really
the 15K
could.
too.
I think he might be doing what Annie's doing, where it's like, why isn't she in the 3K? She might put all of her chips towards the 15K, just like Sean's doing all of them for the 3K.
Yeah, which I like, honestly.
Yeah.
But
And on the women's side for the U.S., I mentioned like some of the male contenders. I think we've got some of the front runners with Nicole, Annie, Rose heading over there. You've got some very respectable names on the women's side from the U.S.
I mean this with all due respect. Is Rose a factor?
Probably
It's going to be
top five
heavy
potential.
obstacle. I mean,
Yeah.
I just think it's going to be the things that she's
can
least
see
set
Ida.
up to do and has done the
will
least
be
in the
there.
last
Yeah.
5 years.
Yeah, Ida and Ulrika, they're on the women's team for Denmark, so she'll be there. Ulrika's got fourth once or twice at OCR Worlds as well, and she's done really well at European in the past. So you're probably right. Rose, best case, is probably looking at like a top 5. The other women just
I don't
are
want to
gonna
be a
better.
hater, but I just can't see her going top 10. I think most of our American athletes are going to run into that. My real question is, are Lindsay and Ryan going?
I haven't seen anything about them.
I don't
And
know.
what
And
does
they're not
that
American
mean?
either, so
They have tried to align with everyone and everything, and what does that say that they haven't given this any credence? Like, the Europeans have seemed happily enough to gobble up any OCR people will give them because they had so little for so long in that gap, those lost years. But you just can't show up and say, hi, I'm here, and this is the World Championship, and expect everyone to believe you. And if the two greatest of all time won't accept it, it says something about what they know about you. So if you create it and people show up and do it, it can turn into a success. So this could be a long-term success. But Lindsay is the nicest, most forgiving person in the sport. And she hasn't given them any sort of grace after she's tried to get to know them. She's
Could you
kind of
s-
my litmus test. She's my barometer for, should I try something? If Lindsay's like, I don't trust these people, then I trust my gut if it aligns with hers.
could you see this turning into kind of like soccer, where it's not as big of a deal in the U.S. yet, but the Europeans are like, this is a great experience. We're just
sure.
going to have this every single year, and we're treating this seriously. Like, that's how I see this turning.
For sure.
yeah. Yeah.
I hope
And
I'm
real
wrong.
quick-
I
yeah.
hope it worked, because if it works really well, it doesn't matter if the people at the top are snakes. It still gives athletes sport to participate in. And the top of most federations are corrupt and not in it for the love of the sport. Ian Adamson has no love for the sport because he's not part of the sport. But if he can give us a place to play and make money doing it, then it's good for the sport as a whole, as long as there's some checks and balances. So I hope it works. I do.
Yeah. Rich, you mentioned for the men's side, Sean Roberts and Kempson's backing out. I thought Rylan was the other one on the 3K. Is he confirmed going over there still?
I believe he's not going over.
Okay. So we're 2 of 3 out for the 3K.
That would have been a nasty crew.
Yeah.
They do have a YouTube channel. They do have an Instagram page. Don't know if we're going to be able to catch it on that. If something compelling and fun happens, we'll make sure to keep you posted on that. We'll touch on some of the results next week if they're accessible. If who knows how those are going to look as well. There's a 100-meter out there too. Benny Gifford's going to represent, doing work for the nation.
I think Jaleesa's going over there for the women, and she won OCR Worlds in the 100. Like, she's gonna win.
Does the 100 move the needle for you guys at all?
No,
No, it's
what?
the same course every single time. Like, it's too
Easy
sterile.
Ninja Warrior.
And
I'll just
I
watch
get it.
Hard Ninja Warrior.
It's weird because my My perspective is it's too sterile, yet Deka and Hyrox are the same thing over and over again. And I like the fast, I like the excitement. But in that particular event, I think that they should change it up. Like if you look at bouldering, you have speed climbing and lead climbing. I think those are the classifications. The speed is the exact same every single time. And like the winner's 7 seconds for a 7.01. And like it's just fractional differences at that point with minor movement changes. But lead, it gets revealed like 10 minutes before the competition starts and it's different every single time. That's the path that I think they should have gone.
It feels like field events for track and field. It feels sport adjacent. Or the difference, maybe it's the difference between the 100-meter dash and the 5K.
No, it would be like, it's like race walking. It's like, oh, here's a sport that already exists that is like for the high end, and here's just like a less competitive, easier version of it. Even though race walking, we heard, blows up the front of your shins. Don't say it doesn't. But when there's already something like American Ninja Warrior that exists, like why? Again, it's pickleball. Like, what do we need to? I think there are harder versions of this already available. Why does this need to exist?
Well, we see these with like the firefighter games, right?
Yeah, it's like the yard games.
Those courses there are spectacular to watch, but will people in our sport sit down and watch it? Or is this something you consume in 12 seconds on Instagram and scroll past?
It's not as
I know
cool
we're
as
going to
Ninja
get
Warrior,
criticism for being very negative. Me specifically. I'm spearheading
you specifically.
this.
Who's
I'm
we?
being very negative.
Yeah.
I didn't tune in to watch the 100 when OCR World Championships held it. Now it's a company that I believe is corrupt and not even acting in our sport's best interests. For sure I'm not tuning into it.
They got pistols on the 100-meter?
2 of them.
I think the whole time.
They're just
I think you're running and
firing off.
Pew, pew.
shooting as you're
It's
going.
like Duck Hunter.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not that interested in that. But, I mean, if there's something to consume, what else we got this weekend? What else do you have to watch? The next Hyrox
lot
is
of
Madrid. No, how dare you. Football
season.
Thursday night, that Minnesota-Philadelphia rivalry is happening where Eagles just beat the buns off of Minnesota every single time. So that should be fun. That's what I'll watch. What do we got to plug this week? What's going on TRP?
Can't call it.
No guest. No
The
guest
last
scheduled.
2 times you've asked me, what have I said?
I don't remember.
Jack, do you remember what I say each time?
I don't want to mention the guests who's showing up because they always cancel on me. Or are you speaking about this particular
that
person?
specific thing. I said, I don't think I'm going to do that anymore. And the last 2 times we've had scheduling issues and gone a different route. So I just
what's available? What's been recorded that people can go back and actually listen to that's already happened?
Well, we have an episode dropping today, which is basically like, if I could just buy one blank, what would it be right now? It's like, if I just had one road shoe or one race shoe or one trail shoe or one, like if someone is new to it or just got their insurance company's like, we want to cover your next $500 of training because it's going to make you healthier. What should you spend it on right now? Or if you're new to the sport or it's just Christmas Day, I want a splurge shoe or I want a whatever. So it's our like gift buying guide at holidays, except for just like right now, if you just wanted to go out and just build your wardrobe, your shoe quiver from scratch, what would you do?
East Bay Magazine episode.
Oh, man, do we miss that?
I do miss the East Bay Magazine.
Yeah. It's a Wisconsin company.
I know it, man. I know. All right. Well, that's something that exists that you can listen to.
That is not ever a compliment.
I was just on Marketplace earlier. I was thinking about one thing to buy. They had one of those sensory deprivation tanks. So that's what I would pick for the whole episode.
Really?
I don't know.
If
someone was giving it to me,
Put that next to the
Hunter
new
asked
couch.
me yesterday.
you're on Hunter's thing. You can go check out Morning Wood Radio.
Well, he asked me yesterday, what do you believe is the single if you had to invest in one thing for Hyrox? He asked what was my predictor for if you're going to be good at Hyrox or not, and what would you buy one thing to train for it? And he's dead set on one thing. And I disagreed with him entirely. What would you choose? If you could only have one piece of equipment, and what did he choose?
One piece of Hyrox equipment?
Yeah, invest in one thing to train for Hyrox.
And you get nothing else.
Sandbag.
Sled.
Lunges, you can do thrusters, you can do cleans. That's my guess.
He said skierg.
That would have been my
He said the
second
greatest
choice.
predictor of Hyrox is a 10K and a skierg.
That's because he blasts everybody in the ski erg, and he just looks at himself like, whatever you're awesome at is what everybody else needs to be awesome at.
So I disagreed with him.
Yeah,
But
totally. Like,
ski,
I mean, I also disagree.
Look what happened with the guys who were good at ski erg in Dubai.
well, that was my point. If you're
Yeah.
really good at those things, you need the opposite.
I was a friend of mine's kind of putting together some fun Hyrox stuff where he's kind of done the Jack Bauer method and scraped a whole bunch of data from, and he was able to show how well you did in a specific station versus everyone else, and where the predictor would be for your finish. And skier and sled push were last and second to last.
So it's a second half race, or second 3/4 race.
I mean, yeah, Hunter does it a certain way, and he's better, and that's better, and that his way is better
Right.
than anyone else's way in the entire world. But does that mean everybody should do it like that? Maybe in some worlds.
That's like
maybe
being
in some
like,
worlds.
you should go out at Lauren Weeks' pace, because, you know, if you're in the lead after the first 1,000 or the first 500 in these, like, you're just going to hold it, because she's going to be there anyway.
Right.
It works for one person. That's it.
Yeah.
You need to buy the thing that you're worst at.
Hunter's probably just looking at the skier. It's like, yeah, that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
That's the one. But check out that BK on Morningwood Radio. Kent and I talked about just like training for Hyrox. Nothing really happening on our end. And that's
Another
what we got
camp,
going
right?
on. Got a camp coming. We're just about full. But if you are interested, plug for the camp. You maybe have 2 or 3 spots available, but I would act like literally right now. September 28th to October 1st. Camp happening. That stuff's going down.
What's VJ
What else?
run this weekend?
I can see him being like 29-30. Maybe it's just under.
29:37, that's my guess.
I'm going to 29-29.
All right.
29:44.
I like it.
What's Meg
46.
run?
We already talked about record, what he's going to run.
No, Meg. Yeah, we know
Meg?
Nick. Yeah. Break the record?
Yeah, 32-10.
32:21.
21.
Say she breaks it by 1 second.
Isn't that right around that?
28 or something, I think. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Breaks it by 1 second. We'll get the tech team on that.
Got some audio cleanup to do. Thanks to Jack Bauer for that.
LVP
Hats
this
off.
week. Well aware.
Doing it better than anybody in the world. Making me edit. All right. We'll talk to you soon.
See ya.